Gregor liked James's muscles, he looked like a real barbarian. James thought Gregor would be pliant and agreeable, too logical and reasonable. Thinkers over-expect stupid people to be logical at all. Do we need a wizard? A wizard is required, said Oswald. We might want to include Yensid James, said Porpoise meekly. We have a sponsor almost as rich as a troll, he wants 15% of the share, wizard. Did he include teleport crystals? And scrolls of fireball. Do we have any to London? Yes, it's the capital in it, easy to use are these green smoke and fire one-timers here, Oswald handed James 3 thus. We have also Osgiliath the female tank warrior. She was almost as tall as James, fat and sturdy. As much fat showed as steel, she had straight black hair, wide lips and was wide as tall. Low S.A. Goblin Meerkat. He was cute and had giant ears and large eyes, dark voice of someone cocky and analyzing. ENTP, thought himself, said the truth poorly clothed. 3 dwarves with 5 eyes. I got my good eye on you, said the Scottish Cyclops. All dwarves are Scottish. Scottish people are immune to vampire bites. And finally a supremely armored and holy cleric. He had the Bible, the Bible is copyrighted, in his left hand and a slit for armored vision. He knows black magic as well, Christianity was the religion of the time but he was more religious than Christian. He was smoldering with his moralizing, they were unjust. He wanted to share his Christian positive benefits, save them, but mostly he choked on his intolerance. I hope you get an arrow in the knee. You can't say that. I'll be your muscle and brains, said James, shaking most of their hands in reach. My defense has never been breached, unless real bullshit. Oh, that's interesting, said Osgiliath femininely. You should have said, my defense has never been breached, until you met me. We'll gather on the castle from charred woods in the morrow. Use this teleportation vial. The blue vial triangulated was small with fine etchings, like a story from an unknown world. We'll gather a mage. Teleport out. They found Raphael and Yensid outside their tavern base looking in the distance. Hail, Raphael looked at a running Gregorovic vampire overhill. Did you know blue fire is over 12,000 degrees hot? Yensid started squatting and screaming like a chicken. He shot a blue laser with a smaller, more light blue laser out of his ass. It sniped the vampire at 200 meters. He felt like he had tripped on the ground. Searing pain. You're an unquenchable predator with your ass, Yensid, Alpha and Omega. My hunger cannot be fully quenched. BWOK, said Yensid incomprehensibly like it was a completely different conversation.
Oh.
This will make God Ra proud, Past Disciple said. 4 more vampires Gregorovic attacked this morning, said Raphael mistily. What did the seer foresee? Is this goodbye, James? Never mind the seer, we want to join a quest on Dragon's Nest. Make some dollar bill. This is a trick, you will not make it out alive. Unless with my help, out is harder than in. Please, Raphael, I really want to go. Wizard Yensid farted the hay off nearby rooftops in preparation of their anguish. You could taste the fear. There is ancient treasure there I do desire. Raphael sounded like a bloody prophet and wiped the blood of his cross sword. We'll do it then, we have until the morrow. James ate 500 grams of protein, stocking up before bed. 100 grams was too much and had turned into fat. Bodybuilders fear too little protein like the Grim Reaper. It really is capitalism turned into fear of eating too little of their product. In the morning James was remaking a Degent song brilliantly really on his acoustic guitar. He played trashy lore unprocessed, listened to the intro for maximum immersion. Keep playing, I'm feeling inspired, Yensid proclaimed. He started twerking in his robes and then in a longer circle. When James played the chorus do day to day Yensid started picking up speed, it was incredible, a physical endeavor, a feat like an Olympic athlete. His feet started smoking, Yensid was at maximum wizard speed. Eventually he caught on fire and walked away for a break.
Do you believe it's disgusting? It's my ginger turmeric protein shake.
His feet started smoking, Yensid was at maximum wizard speed. Eventually he caught on fire and walked away for a break. Damn, he's got me in the spin circle, said Porpoise. Time to stop in my A-game. He stroked his beard and looked a mature wizard. What are you saying, Porpoise? That was so stupid I think I might lay an egg. You only say that because I'm a better baker and soprano. Me too, said Yensid, he actually laid an egg. Baked beans, Yensid got nervous, started cold sweating and shaking, baked beans blues in a Texas accent necessarily and farted out the entire collection. History books, A of the History of the World 2020 History Editor Edition. What the fuck? That's pretty impressive, Yensid, that's from the future. It was possible because it wasn't the future for you. Proof I was here, James said like a mapmaker, opening the lexicons. It smelled like yeast. Give me this history of the world, said Raphael, this might be dangerous to read for some people. Personally I would to read the future before it happens through. Are you going to tell us who you're talking about, Raphael? People with royal blood, like you, James. And so his fate was sealed. James, Raphael, Porpoise, Yensid entereth with teleport crystal, in charred forest.
Vanilla black
Oswald
tea.
hailed them with a torch. You're the last one to come, 2 dwarves got cold hairy feet. Let's go, people. The sky was dark here always, air directing and confusing, darkness cultivated. The path to Dragon's Nest was deadly in the air like a sickness cord, fateful like eternal vision and hindsight best in the world. They saw and followed the castle's west wall but could not see the top. It was shrouded in black clouds, like it could be anything in the sky. You can have Daisy here, in lack of dwarf. A herbologist intelligent with a magical red tattooed white direwolf, she can turn into a bear but will be unreasonable for 12 hours. Not necessarily as a bear. The direwolf and bear were not so dissimilar in size. They split. 10 they went into different entrances. 40 brave men and wizards. The first room was a southeast entrance, respite, great charming lit stone with benches and 3 wooden tables with many candles and red tablecloth. Many furniture and red rugs, brightly lit. A charming decorated entrance, ghostly paintings of memories dead and rich lords forgotten. 2 doors leading left and north seemed menacing. They read death and mistake. Yensid put on his right eye patch. Spiritually James felt deadliness, deep hidden things impossible in cold old stone damp. Mostly stone. Stone is more alive in a castle. You could hide the world's sins in here. And secrecy. I sense right. Me too, said Oswald. They opened the wooden steel gate and it seemed to get stuck halfway, on junk, clutter and rubbish. The room was a giant room of wooden crap, barrels, beams and tables restricting movement. All dark, dusty and covered in webs, giant webs. There was nowhere where there wasn't crap, piled the largest in the middle. Watch your step, men, Oswald. They climbed through the middle, more uncomfortable, annoying and slow than treacherous. James's instincts reeked of death, like a poison trap as he touched the first giant web. He could not logically figure out why and unfortunately didn't listen. Thinkers can be disconnected to understanding some emotion if it doesn't make sense. Not always born prepared handling emotion, it is also the same intertwined with other people. The management of the group just needs deeper thinking. They should always listen to the warning. Inferior emotional cognitive functions tell you when your thinking is wrong, when it has moral consequences you said yourself you disagree. Like thinking only possible through the best of circumstances, emotions doesn't have to make sense through. Raft and rubbish broke and those climbing the shortest way were soon stuck. And guess what happened as they were stuck? Don't touch the giant webs. Porpoise shrieked. Giant spiders, Gregor exclaimed panicky for being so muscular. Giant dreadful spiders descended from above spraying webs like lassos. They were white-gray with lots of hair and flesh, made them look like zombie spiders. Some massively colossus more than giant. Porpoise lit the webs on fire intelligently as people started panicking. The gray corpse-looking spiders were cautious and undecipherable. James threw his discus and 1, 2, 4 axes. Projectiles were fired en masse, magical and not. The dwarf was screaming. James threw his polearm and it cleaved the spider's head approaching the last second. Porpoise fired fossil arrows with his arbalist and effortlessly parried their fangs and legs, like upset. Gregor made mincemeat of the spiders close with his spear, a flurry, being barely sane. The direwolf went feral, so did Yensid with his ass, like a bullet he could make piercing flatulence going through their bodies whole, aimed betting from behind. A minute of propane. Yensid blew a spider thus away like a demolition man. Raphael cleft spiders too graciously like they were butter. The spiders didn't seem accustomed to fighting, or anything. The party thought like this battle was going to be unique. The spiders bit and had overpowering strength, seeming like a ghost they could really sprint just when you thought to calm your fear. The dwarf hack again was stuck between 2 powering spiders' axe and shield. Block. Slash. Brad Pitt-looking polearm at arms exhaustingly slashed a spider to the ground. Something pierced him like damaged except, he had been bitten in neck. He wrenched himself free, wondering if this was the end, clasping his blood. Then he got crushed into a pulp by 2 spiders rolling, not considering thus. James stabbed, cut and smashed with his polearm, boosted jumping with fire feet. They eventually handled the army of spiders but the amount 99 was sickening, it took their stamina and patience. A test of the difficulty of Dragon's Nest. Thus a final 20-meter in diameter spider came on its silk eerily down. Their weapons had no effect on it. They were really considering panicking as Raphael started blinding the spider with his circular guard crossword. Raphael whispered holy words then flew and cleft the spider's head diagonally bottom to top, seamless. It was hard for the eyes to look at, blindingly holy. That's the power of Dragon's Nest, he was a necessary casualty. Rubble fell down into the middle as they moved, they realized it was a bottomless hole opened. Maybe it was common, it smelled like carcass. The next gate opened into a room pitch black, it felt like it could be anything and told them nothing. Eld Fucina Yensid enjoyed putting a live lasting fireball as light in the top of the room. Good thing they had not walked further, it was an abyss room. A drop, perfectly architectured rectangular hole. There was a creaky cracked old plank from the beginning of the room to the end and that was it, 30 meters. This leads into the catacombs if we survive, said the one-eyed dwarf hack. So early it will make us likely pop up closer to the treasure room. We're as far away as you can now minus 1 room. It's less dangerous, a gambit to consider at least. Let's put it to a vote, said Oswald. Vote aye in favor. Surprisingly no one said anything, not even the dwarf. It was early maybe. Very well all scouts, said Raphael and flew with his 4 white angel wings. They were as long as he. He wore a white golden dress with a hood long which half hid his golden armor. Poisonous arrows shot from serpent heads, poisoned bullets and a toasty fire breathed from gargoyles close to the cracked plank. We must cross the plank, said Raphael. It creaked and bent at one dwarf foot insecurely. Maybe I can throw you, said James. I can magically reinforce the plank with ice magic but don't test it, said Yensid. 1 or maybe 2 at a time. And so they feared and creaked, the dark room was profoundly getting into their heads just like it was empty. I'm too scared to do it honesty, said Daisy. Someone must carry Calder my direwolf. James carried the dire wolf cutely and then Daisy. Sexual thoughts secretly went through Daisy's head as she was carried across the plank on his muscly shoulder. Jens had farted normally and it started to crack the plank in power. The sounds of it cracking were so many times you thought already drop. Yensid and Porpoise reinforced with ice magic, thickening the plank to twice its size. Stop farting, if we die from this I'm going to kill you, Yensid. He was whispering impatience and guile. You know you can't beat me. The plank will drop when the ice melts, this won't work again. They ventured straightly. Last to cross was the dwarf. I do feel a little bit queasy with 1A. As the dwarf was almost over as a giant voice shrieked sacrifice and 3 shadowy giant arms protruded from the abyss. They grabbed the dwarf down towards the dark. Yensid blasted ice and fire spells and said, "It's not working, man." Raphael shot down with blazing speed, grabbing the dwarf. The shadow arms required to be cut by Raphael's holy blades before letting go. Master Dwarf Hack was carried gently into the edge of the abyss. I have no cheek to say this time, thank you, Raphael. A corridor of stone slabs and torches claustrophobic entered. Wait, James said. He smashed through some different, engraved slabs. Look. He pulled out a small shrine from the wall, it was engraved. Let me open it magically with my ass, said Yensid. The shrine smelly was filled with coin and onyx rings, bracelets. There was one crystal-shaped vial. This is a tear of osseous, it will give you giant strength and thoughts for 80 seconds. No one made any cringe jokes about leaving already with treasure. They came across a black elf, a small malnourished prisoner-looking elf with an orcish face. Only wore pants, he wanted to trade a dead rat for one of their treasures and he would not attack them in the future. Shoot, trickster of the dark, said Porpoise. He scurried and printed. The most important thing is defense and health, I think, the dwarf said intelligently, to survive the castle. Tank the traps and defend the corpse eaters. The corridor ended in a cross and it was relief compared to fighting. Let's go west, men, said Oswald. The treasure chamber is diagonal to the middle of the castle. They went torchlit to another spiked wooden iron gate with a gargoyle face and opened heavily. It was 3 by 5 meters wide. Skeletons started pouring, they had heavily been leaning against the door. Pouring and pouring like a great mistake until the last head stopped rolling, some 4-meter half-giant skeletons. Then they came alive. With hand-protected pirate scimitars and battle axes they marched dead intent. Some had black full helmets spiked in chest plates. Skeletal mages with little robes started shooting blizzard and bolts of lightning into the party. They got hit by instant lightning bolts until Daisy set up a magical conduit, then she turned into a bear ferociously. The dire wolf had a field day and would afterwards too, maybe with the bones. Strange dead enemies, thought the wolf. It was about as smart as a grey African parrot, 55 intelligence quotient. James echoed daw or soft like he was Thor and hit half of every skeleton that had poured through the door. Giant skeletons swung massive wide 2-handed swords overhead, battle axe, and some just attacked with fists. They had magical necromancer strength, like arm wrestling someone you know you could beat. Yensid sat on a skeleton so it couldn't move, then with flatulence brutally destroyed it and made a 3-meter hole into the ground. Digging straight down. There is ass magic I cannot do actually, Yensid said. 1 magical sword, 1 staff. It is being teached at Solgar docks. There's a hole here, I smelt wine, said the wizard profoundly. The bear used magical attacks with its claws and didn't mind walking around on 2 feet, some pommeling magic stunned, some hunger attacks relinquished, it went into a frenzy and started stunning each enemy once with a maul. The skeletons could have been meaty ragdolls, alas their bones did not have much resistance, not to this competent and focused party. Eventually they conquered, the last skeletons were destroyed with impunity, lightning, dwarf thundering warhammer, magic and axes. I see a basement. Yensid lit his farts on fire with a fiery finger, blue fire burnt through the cobbly stone and made 2 by 3 meter hole carved. Oswald dropped and made no sound, as a lightweight. It's a wine cellar. Yensid had broken an orcish wine barrel. Wine barrels were stacked 3 on 3 by the entire tall wall. Oak and maple barrels with taps. There was white and rye bread, baguettes, Italian like country bread rough. A candle was lit on just one small table with some scripture. Some more wall torches lurched diagonally. This cellar was not for eating, it seemed. Was the necromancer alive? 2 corner cabinets had dried meat, ham steaks, black sausage links from the roof and blood food. Eat, I think, replenish your health, drink and tuck greedily, said Oswald. What if it's poisoned, Oswald, that would be reasonable. Awoo, said the dire wolf, commenting on what they said. A werewolf comically came in, clawing the door halfway, staring at the party. They all stared. James with speed technique instantly pushed him throat up to the door and feet off the floor. Dwarf Hack put his axe/warhammer menacingly close to his head. Speak, is this by any chance poisoned, werewolf? We're not stupid. When James spoke of death everyone got the idea. After 3 seconds the wolf said. The light dwarvish spiced stuff tastes like poison. Alas, we eat and drink. Is the necromancer alive? I cannot tell you this, the werewolf said with an aristocratic accent. Don't kill me, no reinforcements will come to this off the map room you found. How did you find it? Yensid farted just as he said this. Maybe we won't kill you, Kerr. Someone has to do this paperwork as well. The werewolf had twice nodded, 1.5 meter gray tail swinging. James dropped the furry, he slid down the wall. What if that's the butt-cheek biting werewolf, turning your butt cheeks furry? The butt-cheek werewolf is a legend, told stupidly and at the wrong times. I'll be off. He left elegant and concerned with his own important world. They didn't enjoy themselves really until the spirits started pouring. All-Father Ale, dwarfish mind bombs, Bordeaux red and red black. Fruity cider perfectly balanced, light as a feather. French champagne Winston Churchill drank, brandy perfectly colored. Wizard's light blue and teal mana fountain. It had no actual mana like commercialized. Alright boys, let's get drunk. Scottish. Different relaxed, relieved sides were newly shown by the party. Some people were actually interesting and turned into friends. This Hungarian beer is 2%. Drink this if you just want to replenish, or drink. Jens liked the light beer. I like replenishing my mana with beer. How do you know the percentage, James? I am an alcohol savant. You mean a drunk? Clement. Is the direwolf old enough to drink? No, said Daisy. Lucky we are. I know this dwarf whiskey with rye. Expensive stuff. He felt lucky as a dwarf. Everyone took a whiskey glass and cheered red-faced, celebrating like manners were hard found. James gave everyone cheese he had opinions about. Tuck into your bags and pockets, gentlemen. I always wanted to own a castle, have servants, lazily exist. Osgiliath. Fat people are fantastic at conserving energy, they can always push when shove comes. Low S. Fat gives me power, you should see how I score in physical competitions. Osgiliath. I used to bulk up 20 kilos for more muscle. James. That's an interesting strategy, I have not heard it interrupted hack. You just need 400 more calories per day to significantly increase muscle growth, that's going up 2 kilos a month. Doesn't mean you should dirty bulk through with hamburgers and pizza, no diet that recommends that is good. I bulked up 40 kilos when I was depressed once, I just drank bottles of olive oil for 4,000 calories. Cleric. They started petting the direwolf 3 at a time like it was the most sacred rabbit. I don't think we can beat the castle drunk, let's wait at least an hour. Aye, they said together. Many fell asleep, 3 hours passed. Porpoise ate black sausage links until they tasted like porridge. The werewolf came back and wrote on some parchment at the small table. Porpoise let him do it unwillingly. I literally have to do this, what else can I say, he said quietly. He exited with 3 parchments. Enter skeleton-looking door. They entered a giant cave untouched, it was dim-lit magically. It entered into a circular lake. It looked like it hid nothing but underneath. I think we have to swim, one of us has to swim, said Gregor. I can hold my breath for 5 minutes, said Giant James, and I train in water. Take this potion, Cave Moray, it will triple your breath and make you see in the dark, enhance your speed, resist cold, smell like a fish. James touched the lake and nothing happened. He downed the squid ink tasting black vial and went in egregious. Disgusting the cave water was, dead and alive sea vegetation, some pale white gray fish. The potion helped against the cold, he scouted some endless cave systems then went back for air. Face entereth surface, it went up like a wet jellyfish and distorted faces. It's a cave complex, it will test my lungs anyway. No danger, just have to figure out the way. He was focused to dive back in. As he dove, in 0.5 seconds the surface shaped into magical black ice. Probably need to go up to go down then to go up, thought James, that's the intelligent puzzle they're looking for in the cave systems. It's not just this visible tunnel straight. Death waited for James in the straight tunnel. Rounding the system took a long time, but he was right, it was the most complicated tunnel. The length started testing his lungs, amazing James's body still felt just the same with little oxygen. The party was going panic mode as they realized James will die anytime. The ice didn't break, it didn't shuffle, it didn't dispel. He swum and penetrated, running out of air as he exited a stony sink. He surfaced in a cave lab. Elven journals lay here with kaleidoscopes and magnifying glasses of different sizes. Chests of chemistry and sluggish books, herbs were powdered and not. Magical orbs dented, would orbit like surgery. It was a good studying atmosphere, desk after desk. Bookshelves en masse, magical elven items, waterhole in the middle. James got up and saw a crystal teal, whirring crystal sitting on top of a contraption with 4 legs. He lifted it, it slowly removed the magical protection of a wall. He opened a stone door into the protected corridor then came to a brick wall. Smash smashing through it. There was his party trying to dispel the black ice. A swordfish in the water. We thought we would have to rescue you, said the meerkat goblin low S. They walked a long time until they reached a 2x2 meter wooden gate with 1v1 etched. It's the only way, the dwarf said, thinking cleverly but not far enough. Inside was a huge 100 by 100 by 300 meter cave shaped like a Q with a small circle lake in the end. After central small stairs down went by a statue of a warrior, there was an impossibly large 25 by 25 by 70 meter tall naga with 4 arms and 4 stone katanas. She waited sharply, eagerly, everlasting satisfaction from the written rules. This is an interesting statue. I fear not the naga, said Gregor, let me at them. It was a lightly armored female, green and beige under scales, 4 painted bamboo shoulder plates, Asian-looking armor. This looks like why you need me, said Raphael. I will best all judgment, bloody and God-fearing. I can do it, Raphael, said James quietly. Quickly Raphael said, what's your defense plan? Will you allow me, if I ask nicely? I will enhance your shield with impact magic, defensive, said Yensid. I will need some air magic to get to her head, make it easy for me. Light as a feather, low S. Drink the vial, Daisy. James drank the vial of osseous. James went forth sword and shield, like two exteriors glorious and timeless, a spec to the serpent egregious. Hail serpent. The 30-meter katanas came swinging 2 by 2, mercilessly, horizontally and vertically. The impact was something of himself, it was better for him to duck or dip. She also followed up with magic, making 3 meters katanas fly at him from the floor. James dropped his sword, charging Mal Lighthunger and Eld Everlasting into his right arm. He charged and charged, using up his entire magical reservoir in 120 seconds of dodging. His entire arm was glowing red and his fist white. An immolation aura of white cracked the ground and air in a circle around him. With a little bit of cheating, Yensid hurricaned him up into the air for the 1v1. The speck flying towards the Naga's face was met with 4 slow swords crossed. James knocked them back giantly with his impact shield magic. Then sound and time seemed to be silent for 4 seconds as James closed in. 9 impact fist. James hit the Naga in the left face cheek with an impact and sound of the god ULLR, a fire 9-star scolded the air. The shockwave knocked the stone off around him. Slowly the Naga descended to the ground, lifeless arms, did a somersault in the air over 9 slow seconds. The enemy was knocked out, technical KO. James already had the strength of a giant. Look at the bottom, there's treasure. They could clearly see prize cups and gold, tiaras magically magnified in the bottom. Golden spiked clubs and staves and giant orbed one-handed staves. The water was minus 200 degrees, cold as space. James pulled back his foot. Strangely, the sensation was not very different from burning. It told him of damage. You still have some cave moray in you? The dwarf asked rhetorically. We need to heat up the water, said Lois. Use my stamina, Porpoise said bravely and started breathing fire into the water. The water still got draining cold at the bottom as James lifted intentionally heavy treasure up. Back and forth he barely made it, getting the last treasure weakened like poison mercury. Yeah, obviously you're good at swimming, came the statement from Lois and a pat on the shoulder. That's the ass saber of Antioch, said Yensid. No, that's the spellsteel axe chasm, it's been lost for centuries, said Hack. And Apocalypse Edge, the battle axe of kings, it was gemmed 60 times ruby and onyx across the side of the axe blade, luxurious silver steel. There's the spellsteel silver-edged axe, it helps with your casting. It's got 3 useful spells. Chasm the Cleaver can teleport you wherever your eyes can see now and then, classically behind your opponent, and it can rain fiery asteroids from the sky. I'll take it and ask for no more this quest, said Gregor. No one said anything. You can have claim on the dragon's treasure still, said Yensid. Gregor thought stupidly not to take that either. Overhonored, he said nothing. This is going to change your life, you're going to become an accountant. You make my accountant dreams come true, I will correct you until you break. No, Yensid. I will honor this edge like all dwarves before me. Again, as far as you could see sharply was their next gate. The cavern was profound, symmetrical, boring and damp. The gate creaked from gears. It's just a hole, like a chimney inside, I can see the end about 20 meters down, said the cleric. Daisy spoke Elvish and conjured a huge tree root for them to slide down. James thought he could just press his muscular award-winning back and did. James was first down, it was a cross-room of white iron brightly lit, it felt strategic. A minotaur. You readers know how a minotaur looks like. James put this shield down rigid as mountain, but the battle-axe minotaur knocked him 5 meters back into the air anyway. In a movie they would probably have used strings pulling you up and back. Lois and Wizard Yensid came down and started scorching the minotaur with lightning bolts superior. The minotaur had no defense against this spell in range. After getting blocked and blocked again by new ice walls and bone prisons, soon its black flesh smoked and roaring like a bull, he fell over with its cow's tongue out, unable to close the distance. Smack the many boots said to the stone clumsily. Is that everyone? We go north still, Seth Oswald. Once they stepped on the final tile, the cross raised and rotated 90 degrees left. Dust and barrels smashed. West is fine too. At least we didn't trigger the sorcerer's curse. It will rotate all rooms 270 degrees random directions. If it makes us stuck, we're stuck. They entered a room with dead adventurers. Merrily around a circular wooden table they sat dead. The dead partying or at least conversing as a group. Etched in the wall was. We can't get out, the wild wind blows. The room had 2 exits, one rotation had given them at least another way. Ranger hat, crowns and butcher's coif sat on different heads differentiating the corpses. We will honor your quest as we take your stuff, James said. They had silver and gold jewelry, some gem swords, diamonds, 1 staff. Daggers were distributed evenly. Gregor carefully pulled every gold tooth out of a gray wide-bearded dwarf skeleton. Honorable as Satan reading the Bible, Lois said. The cleric smacked Lois in the face with his Bible. Oswald didn't seem dishonored or discouraged and said, We'll go east, at least it isn't south. We came from the south entrance, remember? They ventured into a pie chart room with a stone curtain slowly raising. A voice said, You have entered the orc room. Your best warrior is banished into hell with all but his worst weapon. Orcs crawled underneath the curtain as it raised, began throatily orc mannerless cursing. They came with arbalist and butcher's coif with onyx glasses, pikes and lance, heavy ballista were rolled out with orcish intents. Steel met iron as fate collided, a dance of orc anger, whirlwind and savagery. James was banished next to a 5 by 5 meter circular Greek-looking stone temple. Around him was black and brown dirt with no end in any direction James could see. Orcs far distributed came running instantly to the temple. James had no weapon but his right fist and his discus of weakening. Wasn't that bad a weapon, he thought in a good mood. It's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. He put on some AC/DC on his phone and punched the first orc like a frying pan. His legs shot up and leather boots flew off. He ricocheted his discus between two heads and punched a fiery hole through an orc chest as all 3 iron sword hooks flew into the air. From a top perspective, no one got close without getting systematically smacked. Gobsmacked. He chased after people in punching whirlwind. They ran away. Several orcs were running as they forgot with their psychologically low EQ bravery against their superior flurry. He picked up and varied weapons, balancing against their steel. He danced the dance of death and slaughtered like a bloody biceps ballerina on his slayer task. He grabbed their weapons and shields, threw javelin, broke bows. He pierced and pommeled with sword hooks, threw 2 battle axes. It smashed like a boulder into the orc and knocked him visibly off the screen. Bodies were stacking like restaurant plates. They came with siege, they shielded together, they had katanas and daggers. James fought and danced until 300 orcs were piling up. Ding, he got teleported back. You survived, said a voice like death or a wizard thrilled. No one was fighting in this room anymore. The battlefield was filled with teeth heads and helmets and colored blood. He went into another corridor and jogged perceptibly. He could hear Yensid's farts like a guiding star. He punched through the wall with impact magic thrice. There was his team. We had a hard time without you. Where were you? Said Inquisitor Clement the cleric. Yensid started screaming like a chicken and laid an egg. The egg had somehow explosives in it that destroyed the first layer of the walls in the room and knocked the party in different directions. Do you want to know what kind of organic metals I have eaten? The party had to recover from this and they started chatting angrily about wisdom and religion and Yensid and everything they had kept in their better tolerant selves. Walk on the path of God as much as wisdom, live right, care for your soul. Taxation is theft. That kind of walking is a form of wisdom. There is no proof of God, Clement the Cement. What if you're wrong? What if you wasted your life? You are not a holy man, Yensid, but if you dare find signs of gods, you will. What if God is dead and we are worshipping someone killed? Said Yensid in a compromise. BWOK, just as things had turned to normal, Yensid was going to lay another egg. No you don't, lad, keep that stuff in. Hack bent Yensid over and pushed onto his buttocks. Your wizard is a liability, said Oswald. His ass is powerful, said James. Survival of the fittest. You're talking nonsense, countered Yensid. Every day I don't know if I'm going to be hurt or safe. Bums out the winday. Saying it in Scottish doesn't make it true, Yensid. Propane. That is not an answer, Yensid. The next room seemed strange. There was tourney grounds, it seems, half dirt, half stone. It lit up as they drew nearer, 4 stages for duels, and there was the ghosts and black elves as a sitting audience gathering more height up back. They laughed insanely and seemed not like the newcomers were anything but mirages. 5 black knights stationed of hellish horse beasts with several horns and spikes, white heads half alive and mouths dead. The knights were fully armored, convincingly black, and had glowing yellow slits for eyes, large and oversized visors, gigantic shoulder plates rounded. The armor was gleaming from roundness and the abyss blackness. Let's go, men. James equipped his shield in his left hand. He walked menacingly as the first knight began jousting, fire laid in the wake as they sped up blazing. With speed technique, James strafed and took the pull of the jousting knight. He pulled him off his horse and smacked his head into the dirt. The party engaged with battle cry. The knight fought with skill and agility. He had pulled a warhammer from his belt. James started throwing warhammers thrice, and a discus. It hit the knight and he wasn't as intimidating flying back. 2 fiery battle axes addled with magic hit the knight in the shoulders, lodging stuck. Don't destroy that, I need it back, said James. The Black Knight was hard to interpret in silence. An impact warhammer ricocheted. He seemed immune to impact magic. No matter. James punched him in the stomach and up into the air, then kicked him in the head as he was going down. The horse went back practiced to its owner, both eerie in silence and death hollow. Communicating with dead wavelengths, a flail came flying and barely missed James's dodging cheek. It could expand by its chain by 15 meters, then it was pulled inside quickly with the chain. Then came a fiery whip and extended 5 meters. It hit James's armor and started to melt it. Hot, 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 hot like Penang curry. James spun out of it and jumped out of reach eventually. Better get back to my throwing strategy. YENSID, ice magic, please. Yensid shot forth a sheet of ice that shot upwards, knocking the knight back and pierced his feet. The lodged axe fell out of the knight's shoulder. James put another fiery one in there. James went for an impact uppercut that knocked thus. James threw this should be enough him. The Black Knight uppercut back. James went flying. The Black Knight alternatively flailed and whipped, but agile James kept out of range. The flail spikes seemed poisoned, but James had full plate. The knight came running and his weapons were close, but James knocked him back with the discus aimed at his throat. He went for a double warhammer throw, confusing thus they both dented the knight's armor. The Black Knight mixed his whip and flail in the air and both came flying so fast James had to recalibrate thus. James did a punch into his chest, path of the strong nerd. It caved in his chest plate. Searching a whole lifetime, worlds colliding. Punch. Yensid without being asked had time for another shot of ice. This time it froze the Black Knight stuck, piercing his legs completely.
Some of
James
them
whispered
have
El
to use
Fuchsia
them in
and went for
super
a jumping
attacks
axe
or
throw.
super
It
strengths, I
whispered fire to
guess.
the air and hit the knight between the
I
eyes,
don't know,
searing its
man.
surroundings and cleaving his head.
The truth
James went
changes
and
with
helped
my
his team, sneaking up
emotions,
behind a
random.
black knight and holding him with a half Nelson. Porpoise went up and put a piercing magical blade through his stomach. The knight shaked like he was being exorcised and eyes exploded yellow explosions, smoking as he died. The cleric shot 1.5 diameter white divine judgment beams, half hit their targets and seemed to have no problem blocking the black knight's attacks with his thick armor. Loas had his short bow often firing magical poison arrows. One black knight also had a spray poison attack and explosive blowpipe. James knocked him forward by hitting a warhammer in the back. He got hit by a
Remember,
judgment
there are
beam, so
energy
his helm flew
potions
high
too,
off.
not just stamina potions.
Loas whispered penetrating fossil for Thunder God Breger and shot through his
The
head.
one is if you're a little
Porpoise had been scared but
richer.
had some really good moments where he motivated himself. He had been scared enough, for long enough, and he existed in it strangely motivated. Gregor had been poking frantically with his spear for 10 minutes, a flurry of jabs met by a frantic sword-swinging knight. It was the most personality both of them showed. He disarmed the knight and hit through his head 4 times. Unlimited barbarian power. Dumpstered. Get 1 versus 1, a just idiot lummox, he said triumphant. An idiot just said James. James thought about the essence of teabagging now insanely like it's just like double dipping. Yensid let out one of the most ass-shredding farts in living memory, directed like a cone with magic and stomach muscles. In the land of the living dead the painted skeletons all cheered. It is said it cannot be fully known no matter how you describe it. Daisy got her nervousness and ticks back. It killed one old man laying down in his home thus and woke one from the dead. The gods giveth and the gods taketh. Yeep, the final knight was dead as a doorknob. He wasn't powerful enough to raise his qualm. Pitiful. In the room they found a cabinet hidden of gnarly cider, awesome sugary citrusy drinks unknown in a 8-side circle with string cork and awesome jugs of wine known and classical. Wait, don't drink that one, I taste mercury. This would have killed you slowly. Better trust the wine cellar. This isn't anything compared to the wine cellar, it's just a little bit of respite. Yensid, how is your ass? Let's go back to the wine cellar people, they agreed in stupid communication.
Yay!
And so they did. Yensid summoned summer winds that blew them in the right direction. They also made camp with mattress and cooked oysters and bacon, chicken in a wrap with bacon, and James taught them how to marinate meat modernly. Why did you bring a mattress? When were we going to need that? Look, I can fold it 9 times with Scottish dimension magic. Ask me for modern recipes. Did you know Italy spread their food everywhere? Many food types are global, and after England's conquest of India the foods fuse. England an empire? 120 colonies? Yes, hopefully we weren't too rough, you know, he thought as a contemporary Brit. They ate black sausage links, Yensid made tea, and then they soon replenished with wine and more baguette. Let me play some ass flute, said Yensid. You should let him do it, he's really good at this. That ass flute is so beautiful I'm going to cry. His ass flute farting with a dual valve engine sounded like a Scottish bagpipe. James, Porpoise here says you're lightweight, secretly said a drunk cleric. Who knows what he meant? No I don't, said Porpoise. Slap him in the nuts and bite him in the leg. Bodybuilder James grabbed Porpoise overhead and threw him out the room 5 meters in a silly mood. Do you want some sausage? James said to Porpoise. Here, spice up the cleric's drink. Yensid farted a flame small but just like igniting propane. The cleric looked unbothered in the distance, it was a wall, and drank, thus he went. God, someone farted in my drink. Don't use God's name in vain, said Loas. Throw me out as well, said Daisy suspectedly. Can I come in now, said Porpoise after 2 minutes. No, said James, someone put a keg of Bordeaux, he's afraid of good alcohol. They stapled 4 kegs of Bordeaux and Montrachet against the door. Clement opened a Wizard's Reader's Digest against the door and exclaimed, This is just like home. Loas spit the Wizard's Digest out. This tastes like a hamster brutally dipped several times in tea. Keep drinking, said Clement. And so they did. Parched and sozzled they were, missing their mouths and satisfying their spirit, cheering their earthy lineage and celebrating the size of the glasses. Ow, my head. Can I have some bacon, said Porpoise. They gave him bacon like nothing had happened through a barrel crevice. Technically Porpoise did do nothing. SSS is SSCH did he SSSDTH7 SSSDTH fried chicken, said the dwarf, didn't make any sense. Hack, you're only making sense to dwarves and yourself, stop drinking for a bit. I challenge you to a drinking contest, said Master Hack. Loser gets punched in the nuts 750 times and lit on fire. They moved the werewolf's table and 2 chairs legendarily. That smells terrible, Yensid. That's not me. They had opened a keg with flatulence blue cheese manifest. Not that one, let's start with dwarf's convincing mind bombs. Hack took a chug, looking James in the eye brutally. James drank his dark ale, locking eyes, not giving anything away. Dwarfish mind bombs were easy for the dwarf, but James was used to them too. They actually ran out of mind bombs eventually. The dwarf was concerned like there would be no more alcohol. What are we going to do now? They were saved thus by gut-wrench grog, multiple alcohols, and liver's innate double regret. Now we're getting somewhere. James doesn't know why he said that. Hack laughed in confused drunk. Hack turned into a mental midget, but James went into normal IQ territory. James enjoyed himself. This is how normal people are. Everything is fun and exciting. James was twice as wide and tall, but the dwarf would not be outdrunk this day. James moved the kegs. James staggered to Porpoise, read the labels and moved them easily. You're as fine a Brit as the Queen, Porpoise. You too, James. James wished they could have had coffee between grogs. Next up, Wizard's misspelling and Fire Gutrot Heartstopper. It made James water his eyes and Hack grasp his heart. The final alcohol they kept drinking was brandy, Bryn's Brainrot brandy. They drank and they drank and they drank, gathered time unnecessarily, defied their bodies, acted tough but also quite nice. Good, Bryn's catalog. I already have brain rot and no taste buds, said Hack. It's not that bad at all. I don't know why he said that, said Daisy. James didn't know where Hack was in terms of tolerance. James had pushed way beyond his limits and who knows what kept him going. He started to have memory and seizure problems. He went for another filled wooden pint mug and felt like he was hurting himself permanently. Chug. It filling up again made him feel dizzy and his body ached. You're not done soon, are you, Hack? I'm a dwarf, I'm done when we run out of beer. But you're making quite a show here. I thought you were invincible at one point. In those moments, invincible he was, just like James would have been against a spear. James reached for the pint who was being filled up. Suddenly the table went up in the air. He had fallen to the ground on his ass. The stone felt sleepy and cozy. Someone gave him the pint. James inspected it closely and drank disciplined, and then another. Hack looked addled but the same when drinking. There was no telling how far he could go. This is a real drink for men. The dwarf took a swing of hot propane, prickly pear. If you mix too much propane you go blind. Propane is energy, propane is fuel. This has been a fun game, let's do it again sometime, said James. Are you giving up, laddie? I can go on I think, but I'll stop, he said casually. Hack cheered for 3 seconds, raising his pint, drinking another like a boss. I told you he drinks like a little girl and punches like a eunuch, then fell asleep sitting up. James thought the stone was cozy until his speeding brain realized, fairly scientifically, he might have drunk enough alcohol to die from alcohol poisoning. His body was strong and with a crazy conditioned heart, he would have survived, but so did James, thus not specifically realize. He got up and strongly lubbered to an empty keg, thought that he had to throw up. It didn't require much time for him to feel necessarily nauseous, and he vomited into the keg, again and again until his stomach was just food. He felt better but beaten. He started meditating with Stecker Incantatum back against the keg solemnly, which he figured would repair some damage. And it did. They had drunk 99 units of alcohol, 1 medium beer equals 1 unit, together. No healing, I just need to meditate, said James. We have a healer, cleric, use it and it will sober you up by 60%. James didn't want to feel this afflicted, so he said, okay, fine. James was very strong under the effects of something like this, yearning to be used, like a hero. Hack didn't feel like punching James in the nuts 750 times, he didn't want to be bothered like with the cleric's healing either or with anything. Porpoise, mind blank as a canvas, lit him on fire through. I fire you from the job, didn't expect to get covered in fire did you, shithead? It had been tough beating James, but he was a tough oak used to go over his limits and professional eater, drinker for contests. He knew he could beat James before they started. The next room was the dodging room. This arena is big enough for our whole party against the door side. Instantly as the door closed, arrows shot from similar serpent heads covering the lower 80% of the area. Those who could, like Porpoise, jumped 10 meters into the air, Yensid with magic, the others blocked. Giant saw blades came through the wall, making them jump away and up, some came vertically from the ground. Acid was pouring in from 2 sides of the room, narrowing it down more and more. It smelled like mercury sweet but was yellow-green. Some room tiles flipped 180 degrees into a hole in the middle. Saw blades pushed them into the middle. One tile started glowing and melting. 2 seconds later a hellhound head made out of fire entered and then dived down. Don't stand on the glowing tiles, said James. Serpent heads started firing arrows more sporadically and really made you mind your next step after the first, focusing on dodging, eyes on the surroundings. It was not for everyone. A spike shot up through the cleric's foot and then as he bent down, one through the other leg. Yensid, he can't move, man. Yensid tried his best to move the cleric with air magic, but he feared for himself. Intelligently he went to the same tile as the cleric. The cleric took that time healing himself. Daisy got hit by a saw blade. It was poisoned. Damn it, the poison makes it harder to dodge, she said unwomanly. A hellhound head got Hack. He wasn't the quickest, he melted instantly into a puddle of blood. Porpoise was by far the best here, dodging gracefully and flipping about. There was a golem appearing from the floor without much legs. It had a chainsaw and would pop up around you. A small gargoyle started appearing and disappearing in the hole in the middle. Its neck was glowing yellow. Things were turning insane. They dodged faster and faster. Someone hit the gargoyle, said Daisy. James brought his whip resistant to fire. He had asked the elven to smith and supply it with mithril thorns 6 × 6 centimeters in diameter resistant to fire too. First time he wasn't quick enough. Sawblades was barely dodged and deadlier. Second time he lassoed the gargoyle and pulled it up going into the abyss. It breathed fire around it until being properly removed. The room stopped moving, Sawblades stopped halfway and the gate at the middle end was opened slightly. They took some time to heal the wounds. Luckily the castle wasn't conscious about this. Daisy went unconscious. We can't wake her with magic, the healing isn't enough to wake her. We're losing the pretty herbologist. 2 of them tried to revive, but she would not awake. Yensid sat on her face and farted so bad she woke up. It made cracks into the floor. Daisy felt high on medicine. Why does everything smell like cabbage and socks? She would get on to live another 43 years. They were curious to open the next room. It had one exit north, but in the middle was a circular staircase down. There was a dresser full of javelins and spears and volgs and a wooden cabinet. We're lucky it's a baguette cabinet. You don't need butter for this. A baguette is really fresh depending on the sound, if it is crispy. This must be one of the exits from the catacombs, said Osgiliath, a free room. The door north opened into an abyss room with a 7 centimeters wide concrete path. It smelled more and the energy was different, something to interpret into a mistake. The serpent heads shot arrows from both sides, pelting the party as they shared their shields. No giant hands protruded this time. They came across a larger room, especially in height as they fought only giant skeletons. One after another they swung, content to be alive and sin again. They came to a room with a little bit of food and drinks that looked like black orcish mead. It was the stuff they had also found in the wine cellar. They weren't too hungry and stuffed it into their pockets and leather bags thus.
I used to think you
Ah,
shouldn't
a
have a
wizard's beard kit. I
command
would have given this as a present to
beforehand.
myself. Let's go back
Yeah,
to the
it's
cellar
pretty
and drink
stupid
again,
sometimes,
said
though.
Cleric. I would do it, said Loes. Shut it, Clement, said Porpoise. I don't mind carrying things on my back. I don't feel a thing, said James, like an ESFJ would. There was also a detailed large chest. James melted the lock mechanism and opened. Phoenix feathers, rare and valuable, a wand, a silver bracelet with 10 huge emeralds. Pure gold coin with faces of dwarf kings, silver ingots and a vile brown poorly mixed with gold color. This is liquid greed, said Oswald, a tricky potion to make as it is valuable. Made from black unicorn mane hair and crushed black imp horns and double not on sale alcohols. It can turn anything steel or silver into gold. Unless too large, it will work for about 3 meter and cubic. Put it on the bracelet in it, said Osgiliath. Save it for something larger, said Loes. This is the licorice wand of Greymane, I'll take this share. He said like an epic wizard. It tastes like licorice, said Clement. It tastes like liquor, said Loes. No, it's just black. The wand was XLL large with 3 protruding segments, slightly bent. Only the greasiest may wield this. It looked high tier. I am barely strong enough to wield this, it might drain more mana from me. You're so dependable and reasonable, James, we're gonna get through this, said Daisy. James didn't mention that he used to compete in extreme wheelchair sports. You're really strong and cute at the same time, Daisy said meaningfully. James knew just how to stop girls like this. I like men, Daisy, he said in a deep voice. He lied though. Daisy didn't know what to say. You weren't supposed to say anything like that, she said angry after a silence. You forced my hand, said James. Can we not have that kind of vague movie language in the book, please, said Daisy. Fine, said James. Can I at least get a grip around your waist? Try and see what happens. Daisy went relentlessly and hopeful. No, said James and slapped her hands away. When the girls are done, can we get going into the castle, said Yensid. This gate is locked, I can't find a reason. Back away, let a master wizard do his work. Yensid put his ass on the lock mechanism. Not much farting came first, but then like an ignition giant the lock mechanism turned into a wide hole and with the sound of someone igniting propane. Propane mastery, said Yensid masterfully. Frequency and accuracy and balance is equally important. No one was following Yensid's line of thought. I think I got some pink eye from that, said Loes. I can cry with you if you want, said Daisy. Pull my finger, James, said Yensid. The party was like, do any of us actually dare to do this? Brave James pulled Yensid's finger tough and coolly. The impact power of an infinite asteroid, smashing through the planets, concentrated in 1 decimeter into my ass. Fart terrorist non-politically correct series, hurt locker. The walls and roof caved in like an earthquake. Yensid had farted a 3x3 room hole madness. The explosion was blinding and deafening and smelled like frantic alcohol. Skeletons were falling in from above, confused, bothering their linear thought. The team was buried in beams, gray brick and darkness. James was the only one who didn't regret it. He thought it was hilarious, a new direction. Daisy was screaming, her hair was on fire. James slashed skeletons into a rabble. We haven't been upstairs yet. Different treasures lie above, said Clement. The roof has another smaller castle and is unexplored. Should we split? Asked Gregor aggressively and thought as long as his arm. I don't think so, it's dangerous enough in a team. A box 2 by 2 meters slowly unbalanced on a ledge above and broke on the floor. It was filled with ruby and silver treasure. The 6 huge rubies looked especially valuable, big as your fist. I knew that was going to happen. He didn't through. A boatload of hamsters started pouring from a room above. Before you could say microwave, there were hamsters everywhere. Don't step on the hamsters, said James. Yensid, do something. Yensid farted, then air magic ed most the hamsters into the tax evasion and parking ticket dimension. The hamsters were very cute. Some were white and had large fangs. Some were 7 times the normal size.
Damn it.
I shall keep this one, said James and cuddled on the belly of a huge hamster. He put it into his pocket, feet up. The hamster didn't know what being a pet meant. Oswald and Gregor kept a hamster thus. Beware, said Daisy, hamsters die brutally, it's never some normal shit. That's the curse of hamsters, said Yensid. Those are hamsters, said Oswald. I have seen them in Ixalig. They thirst for blood and neck and live 7 years at least. Might overfeed. The upside-down hamster in James's pocket thought it was very funny being upside down. Jens had hurricane magic at himself into the rooms above and looked around. Only the floors closest to floor 2 lead to the dragon's center, said Oswald. I suggest James look in the roof for additional treasure, Jens had said, floating down like a butterfly. There's more than enough treasure in the center, said James. We might not make it to the center, said Jens. Jens had started eating a can of baked beans. What else do you have except baked beans, said Daisy. Chili baked beans and some raisins, plums. Suddenly Daisy came to a profound insight. It looked mathematical. Jens, eat all your baked beans, said James with lots of energy. I can fart incredibly independently of baked beans after a life like this, said Jens unnecessarily. Can you make a hole into the roof? These walls were designed not to smash through, he said, countering but true. What about an ass laser? James helped Jens, shaped like an upside-down L. The bird noises commenced channeling God Ra and then a bright white laser followed. Jens screamed with power and the laser drained him, but his ass was strong. Who knew how many layers were pierced into the roof? Now some hurricane magic, please people. I'm as magical as a lesser steroid unicorn, said Lois, and so James was going through 25 stories up and up. Some rooms were larger than others. James saw glimpses of monsters and monsters of him. James thought about the Dicks Out for Harambe song and thought insanely or brilliantly about flashing his personal organs to the monsters flying by.
Some streamers have very bad
Swish and
answers
flick, an
to how
unforgettable
are
sight.
you.
He entered smoothly on the roof.
You don't
This
say
part of the
anything
roof was dark,
interesting, or they
eerie, and
don't want to
enclosed with
share,
sharp fences
you know.
of brightest moonlight. And moonlight lit the roof.
What should
Still,
I
it was 200
say?
by 200 meters maybe. The fences ended into a smaller castle shaped like a
Some
graphics
people
card,
don't
unbelievably
realize
expensive.
about like
There were
people
fountain statues
caring
of men
about
raising a
you,
skull
and
into
you
the
want
air,
to know
looking
that
like
you
theater
are
people. The fountains spewed water for a meter towards each other. The ground glowed into a wave of starlight wherever he stepped. This
some
seemed like
people
holy
just
or unholy
respond
ground.
with
He didn't see them at first, but apparitions were closing in on him slowly. Some were very close.
something short.
They looked like banshees with dead
Kind of
masks, floating
pointless.
above the ground slowly and with black tattered robes. They disappeared from view and could be seen again 3 seconds later, like there was a flickering
I
lamplight.
feel I slept
One
the
was too
whole
close
night.
for comfort. It had drawn long broad blades now silently,
I'm very
ready to
happy.
kill. James zigzagged between apparitions towards the castle until something eerie told him to look back. A piercing will. A fire-red-colored banshee looking, nay reaper-looking wide tattered
When I
and torn
say
came
how are
floating
you, I
towards
really
him with a
want to
reaper's
know
side.
if they are okay. I want
Its
to
head
know
was
how they
empty and
feel. I want
harrowing,
to know
floating 1 meter above ground with no
that they're
legs, no
having it
robes
good,
covering
you know?
them. This infernal presence froze James strangely in place
That-
for 5 seconds. He tried desperately to move but couldn't do it, like in a fever dream. His instincts were on fire. He couldn't fight this. It was like looking down a red abyss into deepest hell. He ran towards the castle intently. Coming up towards the door, he smashed the lock and went in, shutting hopefully. There was a spiral staircase and a door. He decided upwards.
Wait, I have to send a text and make
Most
a phone
banshees
call.
wouldn't go into the castle, and those that shifted in didn't go up the stairs. And the spirit from Ultra Hell, another plane, could not be defeated. A single orc assaulted him, coming up into a corridor. James was barely fast enough to avoid the primitive axe. He was brown with brown armor and a small shield. He trashed the orc through the wall and out the castle mercilessly. He met a meek, long and tall orc with glasses thus. What are you doing so far up here, said the orc, hostile and concerned. How did you fight the 300 werewolves? I didn't. There's the treasure in it? The castle had less dangerous rooms and more far between, like a bonus area or an unfinished expansion. He met more black elves, but they seemed to tolerate his presence, like an evil man tolerates new ideas. He came across an agility room. He dodged sides and saw blades from the wall, pulled in his stomach between blades, did acrobatics. There was a huge water wheel he had to run upwards. It required all of his speed and more than he thought. Running like a muscle boss, he only advanced so quickly until he was at the diagonal top and exit. In a final room there was a giant minotaur, 4 horns with a crown, dark fiery eyes with a giant 2-handed sword, broad and jagged. Behind him was an opulent door of gold and finesse that could only be the treasure room of this instance. Well done getting past the werewolf's cur. This is the final challenge of this place. But not the dragon, Mr. Bull? Nay, wait. Is there to be someone else here? Are you just on reserve duty? I want to fight Kerr, no more talking. The Minotaur blew fire from his nostrils and went for a double spin with the sword and then a quick overhead. The Minotaur assaulted right, overhead, left, right overhead, left, right, leaving no time for retaliation. James dodged an overhead and uppercut the Minotaur into the air. The sword got stuck in the ground for a second and James smashed it into 3 pieces with impact grip. The half-sword was good enough for the Minotaur. They swung sword for sword, clashing like titans and ever-measuring strength. They clashed a final time, swords and fists. Their strength was even, though James was smaller. The Minotaur headbutted with his horn like it was his third arm. James got hit and it made him angry. With impact magic he headbutted back, knocking the Minotaur into the floor, flipping down and hitting his head first. Another fiery swing from James destroyed the remainder of his sword and lit his bull hands on fire. Consider I have semester tomorrow, the Minotaur said in a deep voice. I don't even want to work for this guy. All this stuff about evil, decay and sickness cord. In semester you will find you are beat. James grabbed him by the horns and with the power of elf steroids. Steroid meteor. Jumped and knocked him out with the ground. He punched the door beyond, it wouldn't budge. It seemed to need a key into a giant golden hole that was probably here in the castle. He used fire magic to melt the lock mechanism, it seemed to resist him, but after 2 minutes of expert fire skills the door was hinging mildly. There was a gold view of treasure, swords of gold and silver and bronze, magical weapons, 4 giant diamonds and 3 onyxes, bars of mithril and adamant, restoration potions and restorative magical ale. He recognized a mimic in the middle of the room, he would not screw around with it. He carried the most valuable stuff he thought in his giant backpack, which was as large as him now. It was different, but he would get used to the weight as usual. He drank some magically balanced Odin's Ravens, beer, making him feel grand, also by the very light taste almost like cider. Beer really tastes something special if you wait a long time in between. A long time for James was 2 days. He went past the Minotaur and the staircase, out to the courtyard onto the castle. The apparitions were fewer and the Red Reaper was missing, they seemed sluggish as he went to his hole down and balanced the sack on his head. Down he went like a missile, his muscular legs crunched the ground, making cracks eventually in a wide stance. The air was easier to breathe here, like an easier level. Looks like the party had painted magical arrows where they had gone, it was just 3 rooms. For the 3rd time he went to find his party. Christ almighty, said Lois. They were in another ranged-only skeleton room, hitting the targets and dodging javelins. You're as greedy as my aunt, said Osgiliath. James told them a bit about his adventure. Look James, why don't you teleport with our loot so far to the London base, then teleport back to Charred Woods? James got even more to carry. Put a shroud-like of invisibility around me Yensid, so no one bats an eye. James smashed a vial and was once again pulled through colors and space to London. He went to the tavern base feeling funny. He felt there would be disagreements later, so he told no one about, and hid the diamonds. He took 3 minutes just resting his buttocks on a chair and boots on a table, not thinking much and enjoying resting, it was all he needed. Oh look, another beer. He didn't realize he came into a frequency of peace, healing and wisdom he's been looking for, and when he was back in the castle after teleporting he was indeed sharper. His magical ability had increased his healing. James liked experimenting with aerobic brain-derived neurotropic factor training, keeping his heart rate as high as possible because the more blood his brain got as he was exercising aerobically, the smarter he got. James had gotten several IQ points smarter by being able to figure out how to get smarter. Dreamy. There was also a mushroom that looked like a lion's mane, curcumin and piperin and more brain blood through ginkgo tree leaves. These still grew, some like weeds, some common and homely, some frequent in another country.
Sushi.
That's it. He would teleport to these countries with the prize money and buy locally, or pick. Maybe this is the time to start learning teleportation. He also suspected plants that increased learning speed also made you smarter permanently, like Spanish sage, sikianda, 3 types of ginseng, rosenroot and ashwagandha. That which you eat daily makes you smarter, like it's permanent as well, like Indian long pepper. He wasn't interested, he was intellectually eccentric. Food tore through his burning anvil of a brain as he remembered the way through the castle. James, said Oswald, mimicking the British. We could ask you to teleport out again. They were in a fiery coal, purple and teal crystal and magma room. This heavy shrine won't open unless we're outside of the castle, could be troll gold. I can just carry it in my backpack, said James, or I can teleport just to Charred Woods and open it there. James in his resource-saving mode, permanent solutions over temporary, which he usually was. It isn't that far back here really, and we save a London teleport. Oswald put his palm close to the shrine, closed his eyes and said psychically, troll gold. James, who wasn't a bad psychic or spiritualist, also put his palm forth and felt deceit, falsehood, smelly and trolls over gold like foot fungus over steak. James had sides of spirituality, calm, wisdom and peace, but they were introverted and not often seen. The mathematical introvert scientific planning and analysis side isn't seen in the ENTP, just like the unique magical moral world of inner feeling or any introvert side is. Many personalities thinks others, opposites aren't necessary and make no sense, can be ignored
Let me
or
just rest my eyes
superfluous.
for a minute.
But balancing out your opposite cognitive function gives you wisdom and peace, like being a meditator. Like engaging in all 5 senses in the now, digging hands in dirt for the thinker. Teleport out. James opened the shrine easily after being outside in the insipid fog or hallucinating darkness, part of the evil just like the inside. The huge shrine revealed, troll gold, made out of blood bark and clay. Smelled like bad meat or good cheese, but also 1 diamond bracelet glimmering and 2 diamond rings that had 4 gold bridges leading to the diamond. Maybe we should use some of these for where, he thought richly and practiced his rich man's laughter, ha ha ha. It was troll gold. ACHH we. Except the diamonds, James protruded like it was nothing. Diamonds makes everyone react the same way. Yensid, could you teach me how to magically find rare mental boosting herbs and roots? Have you turned to natural medicine, lad? That's expensive. If you promise to pick Spanish sage for me, I'll teach you Rouge's inner sight. It will highlight your roots. Yensid and James did highlighting magic to each other over and over while the party was chatting. Just coal in this room now, let's move on.
The entire time.
Next was the depression room. It looked like a theater preparation room. There were masks they were supposed to look into, carnival and theater masks with long noses and a dagger underneath, but would go through a metal you could rest your head. This is the depression room, said the wizard voice. Hold on to your will to live. Look through the masks to pass. The party sat down throughout the booths like actors ready to put on their suicide last theater. 1 step closer to the edge, said wizard voice. James felt tired and his senses went to like dreaming, spirals of depression touching as he went through, they made him feel gloomy and as ever the confidence was leaving him the dagger grew nearer. The spirals were filled with his horrible childhood and a cold-blooded family. They rejected him as shadows cloth like the Reaper, their eyes were white holes large as frying pans. You're not behaving good enough. Weak grades. Can't you do better? Why do you slouch? You have no friends. Not smart enough. But at not smart enough he realized, they were wrong. You're not as smart as you think. He always had been. They were just phantoms, always punching downwards. He was doing good. He was out of their league. He was only strong now, if this test had come a few years earlier it would have spoke trouble. Then came the promises of relief through death of his darkness and past, nothing heard in the Trans-Europe train ride endless. Death greets you warm for your troubles. I would just be reincarnated worse, he thought cleverly. It would be relief came the feelings and thoughts intrusive, the power could be felt like a menacing spirit and weakening legs, but then it didn't become stronger. James exited into normal perceptions. His head hurt and he felt ravaged but his friends were standing around brushing their throats. It started penetrating James, said Porpoise, I was so scared. Thunk.
What is whiskey made from? A sugar, right? Some kind of starch? Fermented grain mash. Cereal grains like barley, corn, rye, and wheat. 100% malted barley is Scotch. Corn is in bourbon. I feel so fancy learning this. I'll never forget it. Feeds on the sugars. Thank you, Enos. For it. Use it in developing from used barrels. Wooden cast, shard white oak. Well, it looks like that. Okay. Unique flavor and color. That etymology is crazy.
Thunk. The dagger went through Clement's throat and out the other side of the neck. He made some twitching.
Bury a bone here for some.
Your religious friend is a fearful
predator.
coward and feelings poorly organized, said the wizard voice. As the body was drawn into a bloody exploding chute, the next door opened. Unbelievable. The next door was the dragon's treasure chamber. Indeed, it was a giant room of Greek columns, hollow rooms on coin and see-through elevation, mostly piles of gold everywhere, sea of gold, gems except emerald, diamond chainmail, mithril armor, adamant scimitars. Some weapons were too gemmed to use efficiently and made out of weak gold material. Maybe several rooms led into this giant room. Crowns and tiaras were magical. Cups had gold of plenty, so did horns filled with diamonds. We made it thus. This room is fair, just pick the things that doesn't wake the dragon. Teleport out carrying as much as you can, that is the brilliant meta. The dragon has never been defeated, James, said Raphael. Like the other ancient metal-infused dragons, it's immune to many schools of magic. Yensid, make us as magically light and soundless if you can. Yensid was proud over him. And so they went in different directions, tiptoeing. James looked over a crown, pouring gold over as he inspected. It hid a diamond skull. He also took a barrel opulent chest with a giant golden outlaid keyhole. He thought to sell the chest as well as its contents. Probably a teleporting global access chest. Jade and sapphire and beryl figurines. Flawless rubies the size of heads, uncut onyx triple blacker than black. They went on and carefully like the wise, they had their packs and pockets half full. Crash. Another 10 members of the party broke through the roof and landed on the dragon with rubble. Enter the dragon room, a voice said. The dragon opened its yellow 4 eyes with 8 irises, slowly got up and snorted fire for 3 seconds. The powerful snorting stunned everyone, overpowered for the duration they noticed. They started attacking and axing the dragon, the other party. 2 attacks went through its hide and it magically spun, knocking everyone off with a
It's
sphere
just
of
the
magic
amount that I
too.
fuck up the lobsters.
The party intelligently started filling their bags
placed
with anything nearby and then teleporting out.
correctly.
Like an alien,
Standing
the dragon
correctly.
jumped 10 meters in a second, crunched the ground, ate or sucked their adventurers. The dragon gathered power, gleaming, and regurgitated a skeleton with a sphere traveling slowly, shooting javelins, lightning, and ice barrage. The spell was too powerful for them, blinding. The dragon got hit as it gathered power, fire inside its mouth. Their fates told them of your potential death. It spewed a small implosion fireball, traveling slowly. Massive explosion. 4 party members got completely engulfed by the fireball, disappearing in 1 second. Then the implosion pulled everyone outside in, still hot. Jensen blinded and confused the dragon as best he could, teleporting around, but the dragon used counter magic unknown to them, locking Jensen in magical shackles. He teleported out. You won't stop fighting, biting, piercing, feisty. The dragon voice was raspier when it said, if you don't stop I will blast burn. Raphael fought the dragon with divine vengeance spells, a worthy opponent, but the dragon beat him and kept him busy with his thick, armored tail. An angry fiery stomp of the dragon sent fire magic second quick throughout their party, melting their armor with degrees told them superior. James blocked and thought 3 seconds before throwing 2 rebound, warhammers and axe. The dragon seemed immune to impact magic. James filled his backpack hungrily but panicky, grabbed his arm's length with weapons glorious and opulent. As the mithril dragon spewed blue flames over him, he teleported out. He was teleported next to Yensid and Porpoise at London Gates. Hoo-hoo, I can't believe we did that, yeah. We got treasure despite a party crash, said Porpoise negatively, but analyzingly correct. The dragon is awake for 3 days when it is awoken, said Yensid. On to the tavern, said James. Raphael came through a holy blue gate behind them. Raphael, stay here and we'll come back and pick up the stuff on the ground. In the tavern base, Porpoise, Seth. Let's go to a tavern in London, James, and buy their most expensive stuff, something I've always wanted to do. And a 5-star hotel, and we shall drink and ravage the penthouse. What do you say to fetching Eugene? There are parties around her like triangulated. In the morrow. I'm going to go to the magic shop in London, travel the world for my herbs and roots from the future. What would you say to getting smarter permanently? I'm smart enough the way I am, said Porpoise. That wasn't the question, but a right answer. Don't you want some company? No, I want to do this alone. I promise I'm not introverted through. His personality type can be surprisingly introverted, researching, inquisitory, contemplating and comparing people, but they still get energy from people. After an interesting visit to the magical shop, he thought, let's go to the biggest supermarket in London, Harold's, and see if they have anything. James had now not just death on his left knuckles, but also 5 onyx and sapphire rings with 2 bracelets, increasing his magic, power, and magical stamina. Maybe you could fit 2 more rounds of rings on there. In the exotic aisle, they had ginger roots and American ginseng, Shizanda brain booster natural, and Korean ginseng root. He bought 11, good enough to boost your working memory and brain during the day. James kept adding anti-inflammation and antioxidants to his diet from many different sources. What he needed to do was focus on the best possible, but still varied. After some searching, also turmeric and lion's mane whole mushrooms were found. They ate these like normal mushrooms. Smart, silly, stupid lads. He bought an oregano bag just for the antioxidants. Being a genius, he had already connected antioxidants to recovering magical stamina and ability. The mushrooms were cheap. He paired the turmeric with piperine from black pepper. He bought a dog pen and wood for his giant hamster. Jensen could make magical fences, so it was really superfluous. The sleeping dog pillow was made out of hay. The pen had elevations and bridges. Next, off to India for Indian ginseng, ashwagandha. The promises of intelligence and less fatigue, stamina. The Indians were friendly to him, wise, monologuing. The shops and stands were grand, endless. They were religious and caste, eager. He took in the views from this different place. It was like another world again because it was old India. He tolerated an England-free India, as one should. Everyone seemed to know their place and friendly to those that needed help. Meeting royalties would be interesting. He asked a wealthy pair on a man-pulled vehicle charmingly and they pointed hither. In a story he bought 17 roots, 300 milligrams were enough ashwagandha per day. Hopefully he would still be tired enough to sleep. He went to China for ginkgo biloba, regular tree leaf. In Beijing he wandered until in a poor area he saw some trees which the leaves he recognized in giant plazas where you could do nothing in royal castle. He asked the nearby Pekingese dog if they would mind if he took some, then plucked all the nearby trees' leaves off. The dog thought lots of things. Vividly he too watched James, being estranged and upset by his behavior. He looked through many places he remembered historically were already built, some were not. They were grand and brilliant. Chinese and Japanese architecture could really inspire you to become an architect. Russia entereth or stood still. It was unforgiving and harsh, but with Rouge's inner sight he found Siberian ginseng, though far apart. He felt like a boar hunting truffle. Maybe he should pick some truffle there in season, but for a few months. He never met anyone and felt conserving of energy anyway, motivated by quests. The Russian North was one of the few places who could make men as strong and enduring as James. Make them act like it's a day's work, tanking anything. If you believe in magic. These specimens don't look like other children of their own families, can be much taller and smarter. He realized he could find rosenroot here as well in the mountains. He bought green tea powder as well just to mix in water or juice for antioxidants. There was an insanity to the cold and strenuous snow walk, you gotta pay attention to notice it through, otherwise you notice when the damage is done. Walking close to Madrid after teleporting, he saw Spanish Iberian lynx and its only Spanish prey, the Spanish hare. He could have seen them in Russia, huh? The pantolo was too fierce and focused for the hare, ready to skirmish one step further. He found a market that sold Spanish sage, the lady told him all about it and said everything it does not do. Wow, this is going to make me smarter, James said like there would be an unlimited array of continuing examples. Wheat germ is superfood. He bought 20 bags and crushed into a powder. Tasted like breakfast cereal anyway and would have mental proliferation and protection. He ate fancy Madrid cuisine, perfected fried rice with prawns several times and traveled looking at everything religion had done for them, like the buildings. At this time Islam was also very popular in Spain. It's right next to Islamic Morocco, the countries were differentiated by a continent, but the Morocco Strait can be crossed by amateurs. Being back home a month later, he had missed his brain being crazy boosted, being even more social like greased lightning and thinking up new directions like a genius. Being a speedy doer and enduring sprite, inspired and passionate almost like we need to coin a new diagnosis here, non-attention deficit? His friends were picking up something extraordinary was happening, because the boosting put forth sides of his unique brain that were the smartest of a very few, boundless power and intersectionality. His brain was so sensitive to picking up things now that he might as well be another species than human. Like an autistic savant, his brain worked like a super machine. He wasn't through, he was completely social in the ways grand. James was also mostly going for the permanently smarter things, not the daily boosters. Some were both. The chewing of ginkgo leaves, no need to alter, were giving him slight headaches all the time, it was when using 100% of his brain. James figured through it only hurt when he looked for it. Wasn't this supposed to decrease headaches? What would a man do to get smarter? After talking to the successful party at the same tavern they met, except for those that crashed into the dragon, rubble and everything and died brutally, and those that got lost and those that got stuck in the rooms. They had listeners and extra drinkers eager to hear their audacity and claims on treasure old and legendary. They all had golden and opulent appearances now, like the survivors of a lost gold expedition. They were talking to a gold group posing. James had his right glaive knuckles in gold and dark crystal sapphire, but it was actually alloyed with adamant. Also a golden sword and his compass dagger. James asked Oswald if he knew any seers Foggy, and Oswald didn't mind showing him himself, pritting on his memory and orientation. Oswald was a proud, intuitive, charming man but didn't seek the spotlight. Competence doesn't always seek the spotlight. It searches to become greater. A1 over 2 priority. James was glad to have entrance again in elven lands and with an elven storyteller. They walked through forests of every color and the bottom of mountains promising greatness. Rivers sparkling alive in sunshine, salmon filled with roe jumping upstream sometimes straight into bears standing with their mouths open, and other animals brutally eating each other. Just this alone makes you think killing is wrong, as the hare squeals and tries to escape. Maybe this is as hard as it has to be. James saw a wolf on a rabbit and thought instinctively to act, but if it even mattered? The death-touching negativity said, "What's another rabbit?" It mattered to the rabbit. James turned his discus into pure impact and hit the wolf mangy like a train. He flew out of sight comically. Oswald even helped with some healing magic. James thought not to disassociate killing with the meat he ate in the future. The truth lies in the difficulty of killing. Not something you should disassociate. Farmers lie about this. Having meat products without the process is indeed like cake, and just as dangerous. The rabbit was grateful and half scared. These big men could be dangerous. Lick. Enter Seer's alcove. This is an elven seer, she is. Better not say anything now, don't risk it, she could hear you. Wise words, said a blue elf with light blue glowing eyes. She looked like a druid but didn't look old, more like timeless. A white macaw on her shoulder said, I want to earn a pistache, cutely. Great plumage in it, is it Norwegian? Of course it's not, said James, there are no parrots in Norway, except blue. You speak to the elder god Sasquatch, keeper of all living things and weaver of the trails of fate. I thought of this as I inspected the plumage. I'm kidding, said the seer heartily. Ra the macaw screamed. Just like children they scream deafly, Seer Seth. Analyze me, said James epically and flexed his chest. I'm ready. She looked into his eyes, read his hand, put her hand on his heart then stomach. Stop analyzing me spiritually back, this is so annoying. I know which answers you seek, but I cannot give them to you. The future is not something I understand like it's read from a history book, and the facts are not straight and concise like the certainty you like. Never expect a psychic to give the full picture. Now give me your money. They understood the joke. But I can give you something else, something you deserve, unlimited power. Also you have unnatural spiritual power like you were more brilliant machine eating up your surroundings. I'm eating brain boosters, all of them. You figured out your spirituality comes from the size of your brain, right? Listen humbly now or you do not technically deserve it. There is a master of fighting and wisdom, old but cunning, he is as strong as you, James. Training up in the mountains of barely breathable air. How did she know, said Oswald, easily impressed by the seer. You will find that you can get nothing through force from him, yet he won't tell you everything anyway. He can teach you one of the unholy strikes, time to become a student. You need to swim up a waterfall to reach him at 4,000 meters. The macaw started play biting the seer and the seer bit it back. The spirit of parrots shall guide you true. The seer clapped her hands over her head following a blinding spiritual explosion and they were knocked out of the alcove. The seer and alcove had disappeared into what scenery filled in better. I shall gift you arduous journey cheese, hard cheese but doesn't require refrigerating. Don't you lads have crumbling dwarven shortbread? I saw you eating all kinds of shortbread, it's not healthy you know. Dwarven shortbread, it's so thick, buttery and crumbly, one bar will satiate for the day. It might not look like much but it's 2,500 calories, eventually you stop feeling hungry. Dietitians are marveled by this, out of words, know when not to speak. Dwarves have gotten fat in weeks unbuttoning their pants with dwarven shortbread quick, it is tasty. It's not bread, it's a rectangular butter cookie crumb, anyway. There is a stack hidden, I will have to go to Arkspire and buy more. Here he really sounds like Orlando Bloom. He gave James a proper bag. Wow, this tastes great, I want another one. No, don't do it. They also have West Elfish Walter Cabin Grapevine. Red black burning liquid, one glass tastes like sweet, expensive medicine and is 6,000 calories, tastes like a mistake. I shall leave you to your 4,000 meter climb, we are already at 500, Oswald said coldly and elf-like. James started running with comfortable pace, followed the blue macaw spirit, helpful and clear, unlike most spirits. When he was hungry he ate, when he was tired he slept. He ran day and night keeping up with the spirit, he could run like walking was human and pressure could be exerted. One morning he woke to a wolf growling next to his head, the spirit was curious but mostly unaffected by the wolf. The spirit was as interested as a spirit could be, existing limited, maybe laughing. He grabbed the wolf's mangy mouth quickly and then sat on it with his square butt cheeks. He meditated for some minutes and then got going. He went through bitter farmers' land and dryads using parts of themselves to help their garden. He slept under fallen trees and on huge redwoods high, his stars fitted his spirituality and his spirit leapt high as he focused into the stars. Indeed, eventually he came across a 100-meter sparkling, bright waterfall, the spirit went up. Using speed technique he started climbing the mountainside, next to the waterfall. His thoughts went to pumpkin-iced spray tan mocha latte coffee eventually. How could he still be addicted after all these years? Maybe he was addicted to some chemical? He was probably getting clear of the chemicals in his body. Then it went up and up without a waterfall, the mountainside was goaty and scarce until he came into a thin tall red forest. There were so many goats and different kinds it felt like the joke of a wizard. The spirit seemed lightened and he was losing his connection to it, for sure it felt like light leaving his stomach and he wanted it back though never made time to be friends. It sped ahead into a man over a smaller waterfall meditating in a yoga position, eyes closed and hovering a meter in the air.
They were flying as well.
It was a very muscular barbarian v upper body person. He was built like a one-piece character, although old he was easily as muscular as James, thick white shoulder long dreads, eyes with a lot of white in them, white mustache, goatee. He looked like he was 25, if it wasn't for the white hair. He was scarred and bare-chested, 2 meters between shoulders and arms like trees. Abs like razors, and also as tall. Greetings fellow human, James said confusingly like an alien. I'm half human, boy he said abruptly. This spirit tells me you have come in humility to be teached in our ways, the 8th student of unholy theory. You are supposed to be a great teacher, James bowed. Teach me your fighting and your skill. Doesn't mean you will understand. Punch me, I want to feel what your fist says. I'll punch you in the stomach. James punched excellently in his abs, it knocked the stones and leaves nearby around. Silencing sound in a shockwave. It was as if the punch had a suction. It would have decimated a brick wall but here it hit something harder. I accept you as a student. Instantly the old man went for a stomach punch in Mach 2. James tightened into a bodybuilding pose, chest flexed and arms 90 degrees on stomach sides and focused on enduring. Their hair and mustache blew backwards for 5 seconds. James flew over the ground until he dug dirt up with his head and back. Jesus Christ, he hit hard, it was like getting hit by God. He had to reconsider humans being strong, and faintly realized maybe he had to do it again. The competition was stellar, like a rugby team. Before you might have been used to being the strongest or fastest, no more. You will be humbled. This is a spiritual thing, my punches, they will not make sense at first. The first unholy strike will not be told over tea and sugar peaches. James told him a bit about himself. I am half elf, half barbarian, I have been training my punches for 600 years. Toadsburg. I think I will be a gorilla like you when I get older. No, you will not age normally, super gym human, unless you get too fat. I didn't believe elves could live for thousands of years until I saw it, he said conversationally. They are great to meet, I enjoy it every time. I'm 667, still in my prime. His words were succulent, like from a hunter. James stayed without jokes, usual and humble like a student, he took no offense. I know punches fire everlasting, impact of someone animalistic, upset and tempered, to knock someone almost into the horizon. Interesting, no it's not the strongest form. Let's see what you can do, first lesson he said echoing. The old man punched a mountain slab and made it explode 2 seconds later, it was such an seamless punch, deadly dark colors. Eld Everlasting can make explosive boxer punches, figure it out, like a grenade on a boxer fist. He tried intuitively but couldn't do it, punches were fiery and fierce but didn't explode, like he wasn't smart enough. He realized now he was going to have to stay in this state of mind a lot now, being unable. He accepted it. James thought of combining fire and impact magic and came with
Oh,
an
there's some
implosion fire,
rye
then
bread,
explosion. It was
extra
blinding white before and
fiber.
after hitting. That's it technically, said James, but not only fire. Tell me now, I spent enough time unable. Concentrate fire in your fist and heart, grow
Vegan
your heart,
liver
implode
paste
emotionally
and
enough
vegan
before you
butter.
explode with everything. Like the wisdom of something cute like loving.
Pastéis.
Know your superiority with the technique. Keep the explosion in your fist. You can retain the force of a star in this closed palm explosion, but it is magic to drain you completely unless you train months or years. Spring salmon. I'll do it in 6
I
months.
want more, but there's no need to go
Instinctively,
for 3
James figured out
sandwiches.
what the
Let's not
entire move
be
would teach
fat.
him and what he must do to perfect it. It's not easy being a genius. He could only
It
follow
is
the
not
god like it
allowed
was
to be
through time,
fat,
a
you
personal ladder
bitch.
because he was psychic. He really got a glimpse from the future doing it, but thought it was intuition. Practice here, spring chaff, don't damage the nature, holy and stoic. Something that will survive us. Like your punches.
Let's go over here. He learns fighting, then he fights in a tournament.
James was
This
ready
is
to travel
better.
to Arkspire. He would adore a culture such as
Can I
the
say
dwarves he
that?
thought, like he liked
Oh,
visiting
I'm
Paris
sorry.
or Madrid. Well, he was going to teleport, he was rich, a ha-ha-ha rich of rivers of gold like gold rush connoisseurs, aficionados. The potion was golden and had a dwarf king on the lid. Smash. He exited a ring of osmium, onyx and opal, interesting. At molten plumes and black smokescape he saw a dwarf army, they were sons of Magellan. They had thick plates of 5 times 10 centimeters small plates chained together, over a chainmail. Bendy chainmail on the arms, gold and iron signated helmets, short girthy warhammers. They were riding on giant potbelly pigs, black and gray their bellies were a centimeter off the ground. Curious smacking evolution. High cholesterol and cancer risk just like their food, but they didn't live to be 150 like the dwarves. Others had pikes, polearms, legendary lances, riding on bears with golden horns and somewhat golden spiked round shields. The beards were gray and black, thick outwards like it would be out of breath, and the stomach was thick, not finding its place. The animals jumped around obediently. There was not 100% communication, will and loyalty between the men and animals. What is our business here? Shopping. Don't go near the hearth of melting hearth melt. I don't know where it is. Don't worry, it's in a restricted area. James scratched his head, walking a little bit as they rode on. He did not come to aspire, but downwards. A giant dwarven architectured hole, they had mined and delved over 3,000 years, one shovel at a time, timeless. Excavating like an eternal plan, like stopping dams. The city was partly built to the walls, into the walls of levels, underground, and then they delved even more deeper. 100,000 dwarves lived in the deep and dank, feeding the cave beasts and ignoring the sun, its promise of serotonin. James went down giant stairs, winding left, left, right, left, and left a bit off the wall. He would spiral down in what seemed like sand. It left footprints that hold of unease. A lava stream lit the walls underfoot and similarly magically on the wall. Already there were corridors into the walls. Who knows how much of the city was built in there, 50 to 300% more. An infestation never stopping. Buildings stood out partly, with symbols golden, large and rectangular, plateaus as well. You could drop a ball all the way down to the bottom.
My ass,
As far as he could see in this 3,000 diameter by 5,000 meter deep perfect hole, only disangled by buildings, there were pristine houses, halls of spear, bears, berserkers, fire elementals ruined and armored, fire elemental dragons, sulfurous dragons, half-dragon half-lizards, super-armored titanium dragons that spewed lava burning over time, runekeepers, dwarves made and crushed runes for their powers in combat, and thanes. Halls of drinking before and after battle. Some hops grew next to distilleries even without the sun. There was dwarven beer and spirit of every kind. The famous names had their factories here, large and small competitive delicacy. An 8 double liver bomb, Valhalla's Honord 6, Dungeon Master's Draft, Dragon Breath Whiskey Purple and Auburn. Ogre's Foot, Scottish Cayenne Espresso. It has whiskey, short stack lager, Barfy Ape, Alpaca Bitter and the girthy Gargantuan. James passed many opportunities to drink. Eventually he settled in a place hunched over, watching a small street drinking that was a very hops heavy and dark ale, Dwarf Guinness. Greasy Jaundice's barbecue joint and contemporary bar was white, dark gold and brown. It looked not too far from Japanese, at least there wasn't anything closer. They conned people of dwarf wares between the fish, and were pleasant to be around in their melancholic, mild sedation. Her sister Anne Formaldehyde did the really greasy work, like Eagle Curry, licking her fingers. He was defeated analyzing his surrounding dwarves. They had proper smitheries, melting every ore in double efficient furnaces, technique that required less coal, less heat but sometimes had more like molten rock. Thanes were big and fat, related to dwarves. They were used in battle for their affiliation to air and fire magic, and size. Chain lightning exerted from their weapons, firewalls and immolation in their wake. They could swing and were ferocious despite being 2.5 meters tall and 2 meters wide, often shirtless and red-skinned. Spear-wielding berserkers feared no enemy exempt from tricks of the mind, except psychology, preventing their relentlessness, and with dwarf magic and helmets, they were immune to mind magic. They could go contemporary insane and fought sometimes with brass knuckles, katars. Runekeepers used ranged magic, magical cross comets, reduced their resistance against dwarven strategies, they fireballed
That's
deadly
pretty
and
fucking
conjured
good.
mistily illusions. Many dwarves summed fire elementals with runes and
With a
potions,
bunch
they
of
could
fat
smash one
spread
inch.
is better on rye bread.
They had mechanical artillery dwarves more than bow and arrow, lots of siege weapons firing giant crossbows which only downside was the aim. Scorpions, small trebuchets, armored mantlet and fiery siege catapults shots for enemies not forts. Dwarf king-headed rams, there were wall-climbing siege towers and explosive traps. Moving wood animals filled with TNT, chemistry and fire, time. At the bottom of the stairs felt like elevating the ground, he felt like in a different country, the energy from the earth and what carved rock laid above it. There were opulent detailed gray and gold roads with more Japanese-looking gates, they had prospered from the wealth of the land, luxurious capital was golden fortuitous. There were shops for dwarven craft, tourists were here more than any other hole, small girthy weapons, arbalist, throwing potions. He went through wells that spiritually told of huge toad monsters and many craftsmen and armorers looking his way happily after customers for a few seconds. In the middle of the giant Chinese-looking dwarven square was a teleport hub, lodestone and 6 bending spires into a lowering of elevation. It looked melted in some places frozen. Wizards and elves and cosmopolitan dwarves teleported thus, wizards were travelers, concerned with information and status. Maybe it was not for outsiders like him, stranger hospitality is never 100% like friends. But it can be easy to become one with the elusive Vikings or Valkyries or dwarves, people look for a kind of belonging and loyalty, sometimes without difficult testing. But it's the kind of loyalty that requires little speaking and simple answers, doesn't it? Concerning for a penetrating thinker like James, he would have a different testing, egregious and conscious of tricks, exerting and thorough. Loyalty done inefficient is auxiliary in thinking, like teenagers' best dwarf pop broads boards. Many people had indeed counted James among the loyal, trustworthy and reliable, but he had been leisurely kind of, as a genius waiting for something more complicated and fitting. Loyalty is easy to some and for some, but if you're not honest about the process you might be snuffed out all the same. Loyalty to friends is something more sacred for our character James, in this book. Underground were where it was, more luxurious halls, large of gold and gray iron, mixing of steel and rock, where gray and metallic looked sleek. Somewhat flat cobblestone, magical lightning roaring like a fissure, a land hidden from tall onlookers. Furnace-looking lightning down here was actually not furnaces. They made grand gorgeous. The halls could be 100 times 100 meters large and 50 meters off the ground, most luxury. Halls for dining 10 meters in roof, one table as a cross-fitted 200 people. They had mastered fishing in the cave systems and murk, deep-sea fishing platforms with magical merman harpoons, ballistas shooting heavy, considerably ugly fish. There were sailfish of 3 kinds, brown, light blue and white blue. Fastest in the waters they were, muscular with just a tail, the water having seldom resistance. Delicious murk turtles of black colors and brown, cave fish pale and rare, nutritious and cheap. They had temples mostly golden, fit with capitalism or entire religious houses made of gold, combinations of other precious resources, mined close. The main precious resources mine started in the middle and would go west, developing zones around it. The richest dwarves lived in a gated community which James thought was concerning and offensive. Politically, he thought, was he not fine enough to live in a gated community like them? What problems did they have here? I guess riches make you more fine. They didn't care and would never care. As a bodybuilder giant like Ronnie Peanut Coleman James bent curious heads, barely fitting or crouching in less centered capital, it seemed half the time the architecture was considerably big enough for people like him, racist, special history he was taught, hidden where not expected. Ronnie Coleman made James think insane thoughts, like getting up to eat during the night, say lightweight to peanut-sized 400 kilogram squats and, that's heavyweight, consequently, it made perfect sense. A small-town cop like him with genetics so good he won professional bodybuilding competitions without steroids, was one of James's idols. He connected mind and body, lightweight and
Let me
peanut.
put it back.
Leg pressing 550 kilograms, James could only do a few times actually.
I'm sorry.
Now there was a way of steroids and human monsters without the consequences, time to become limitless, the time was thus, he would live to be big, as biceps and personality. To a clerk where the miners and smithers clock into work, he asked for Albert the Starsmith, they said at the end of the Hellford Auburn 7.5, sky searching.
Is...
James went through the mining district, it was
No
white sleek steel and
saturated
white, colored as sand, they had industrious bits of mithril, coal, dragonbane and gold, everything grand and moving
It's
consciously,
just,
until everything was gone. There was dragonbane abyss black, excellent weapons against shapeshifters, gemstones containing purple sapphire, ruby even dragon crystal something they exported to elves so they could make crystal potions, 3 potions in one, only dragon crystal like red granite was good enough for them. While mining the granite you could just drop it on the ground, it seeped through sand slowly into treadmills underground, being small to roof even for dwarves. Together they made drinking horns replenishing mana that never could be fully drunk as long as there were seas, about 10% were returned, being drunk to the generous end. There were walls of sandstone 3 kinds and clay, dwarves mined on ropes and stairs made in the material or they had small carts hanging on ropes that were fit for elevating. To warn miners of toxic air that went through the mines in pockets in the season they had not small songbirds but the giant yellow almost golden pigeon. Dwarves could ride it although they were shuffled off in it. They enjoyed the deep deeply over the white steel slopes, things turned pretty damp and more dangerous in the unspoken deep, so thoroughly truly in there you found air no one has breathed, smelly and dank. Dinosaur-like creatures breathing fire and acid, like the headbutt hunk smashing its head, though pretty much no aggravation, related to goats or the presumptuous Bisipae. Your mind weakened as greed filled the insane membrane, with pressure in the skull and your best sanity timer. Dwarves were reasonable delving through, knowing just when to keep sanity and be productive like straightforward, but would try again deeper after resetting, gathering safely the previous step. They mungered sanity sobriety potions, dependent and angry at the economy. They had gone deep, insanity tests the confident like sin. Flowing gold, silver and platina had been found, flowing through thick. They flowed from deposit to deposit, only a few active and less collected. Routinely the dwarves switched from deposit and deposit. They had found black stone and granite golems getting upset and smashing if you mind. They looked like they had valuables deep in them, but it was just a trick. 5 sizes of intelligence and mountain magic. The combat granite golem was thoroughly, piercingly punching but did not fit always in the tunnels and crevices than dwarves' mind. Protecting like a sentinel. The dwarves skillfully mostly avoided them, dodging like they got paid for it even if they could fight. Spiritual ferrets could be seen entering and exiting small crevices. Aliens, some said the dwarves. He chugged his steroid potion and algaes and continued onto the wilderness mine, a coal, charcoal and onyx history. It was the lowest paid, lowest ranked mine requiring the least skill and dwarf blood. He saw some lowly black elves and clay-colored black-eared imps serving their prison sentence thus. At the end of giant forges with 6 anvils in a circle and 6 holes into the furnace, walls somewhat dividing them, he saw Albert. He was a girthy, round person but looked actionable. He was balding with a 5-knotted silver beard wide down to his belt. The 5 knots went into silver bracelets. He was as ceremonial, golden and detailed as his swords. His face looked like that of a barbarian and a Napoleon-like leader. He was a dwarven craftsman proud of infinite crystal colors, like church glass, maybe more like gems on swords, axes and maces. He was ahead of their culture. You had to push him a little bit to make the best handcrafted art pieces and he had to get into a stride. Greetings, Master Dwarf. Greetings, Black Tower in the chessboard of triceps and thus. I know your cousin Arnold. I'm the pretty one, and smart one, and I have a better beard. He's got a good reputation in London now, with an elf apprentice. It must be the elf who is a genius. My cousin can make some good armor, but he never understood the finer crafts, like a race car driver folly understanding physics ACHHW. I want the best gear possible. I want to make an order. I can pay 15% more for haste and maybe a dwarf telling me about this deepness. This dwarven plate is not like normal plate. Super feldspar quartz. They learned from infernal legions their infernal plate, removed citrine and added quartz. Anyway, it can conduct electricity on the outside, doesn't hurt you. Absorbs fire but gets hot enough for you to want to take it off. Or did you mean Fateweave shooting Maestar armor? It's 4,000 pounds per piece and weapon. I can make 100 orders. I ransacked the dragon's nest before the mithril dragons spit their flame. Alright mate, I can be your smith and paid guide, probably going to turn into friends in the professional environment, I can already tell. Or acquainted, feels like I want to say I'm not greedy though, I do this for the craft mostly, consistent salary and history. Golden arrogance has its limitations, its power can't transcend and you keep nothing when you die. I want this 3 meters katana reinforced shooting star. That's a proper katana. Full plate armor minus 1 arm, morning star, 2 daggers, double AXE like an S on one side, pole arms looking like this one I'm carrying. Some throwing axes. I have a shooting star double AXE lying around waiting to be bought, it increases your magic like a conduit. Same price as a regular one, expensive. And I can make these thin throwing axes, like a shuriken and a flying axe, every angle will stick. I dwarf. Consider it's done already, Black Knight. What's a little hammering? I'll get on it. What's that clothing you have there? Excellent light armor, carbon fiber. An armor of the future. Can I have some? Maybe I should study it. It's about the connections of coal to coal at a very small level. Diamond has the most, enhance your magical microscope. There you go. He looked genius and interested with this crafting treasure. You should grow a beard so people don't think you're a woman. Maybe a handlebar mustache. Learn some fire magic from the Thanes while you wait here, they don't feel listened to here and respect giant humans. He went through massive halls, tall to roof, far from all things inside, horizontal bridges over horizontal bridges leading into more glorious halls of different elevations. He went through giant kingly forges that looked like it would be operated by giants. There were basements of basements with treasure. That's the king's treasure room, you can look and dive for 50 dwarven coins but there's a spell like security grumpiness if you choose to steal. The closest thing was the dragon's treasure. At the Thane quarters, which were fire and elemental lightning, there was a teal and lightning glowing specter 20 diameter times 80 high with circular teal stairs most merry way, then they cut off, you had to swing with a chain or grapple across to ascend higher levels several times. What's up biggie small Thanes? What's up muscle balloon? Thus, a fire Thane with a burning hand said with an impossibly deep voice. The stairs lead to nothing, what's the point of that? He pointed. They're stairs of ascension, they tell you about evolving and clues to the next step. You can't comprehend to get further than you can. It's about not lingering with mistakes your heart regrets, I think, knows is wrong. At the top there is turning into energy, it's not. My brain tickles and is elevated as I purify my past self's mistakes of 1,000 generations samurai. There is sharpness and there is accuracy. Negative moral stubbornness keeps us still because ascension is about understanding emotion in the set of strengths, experiences and shortcomings we are born with. Not much being the most clever scientist, performance and fame. Understand and accept how the circumstances are fine and your place through. Be a good enough person to match the transcendence energy. Figure it out before you die, Mr. Muscle. Not necessary the toilet cleanser. Fate is something based in concrete birth predisposition, I say as well. Enough strength, brains carves the unusual way of fate. Like zigzagging through danger. If you munger your brain and biceps, you can alter your fate. Why don't you feel listened to, Thanes? Our culture is thus, peace and lack of war, ardent culture in dwarf holes, disrespected as brutal by elves and barbarians, but we are no more killing than humans or savage as omnivores. Who are we to care for when we bludgeon and languish? There is war every time peace fails. There is cunning, courting, brain and brawn thus. Atrocities fit in war, we can't control everything. You want us on your side through as diplomacy fails, the diplomacy climate is sour half the time anyway. I want to learn your special magic, Thanes. We teach thunder magic as well. You're like us thus, so no charge this time, Jim Ferret. I am shredded, I admit I have never bulked intending on eating. You should see World's Strongest Elf competition, they never win but it's named after them. We gather there sometimes in league with dwarves, sometimes separate bracket. Like the gnome toss. At the Thanes shooting range there were furnaces making rock glow and anvils, a very furnace feeling overall. Like inside a short-tempered volcano. The Fire Thanes had white ponytails and wizard beards, chainmail pouring over their legs in waves and plate chainmail legs. The Thunder Thanes had shorter beards, blonde and light blue glowing eyes like smoking teal with a circle metal conduit like wings on their back, like a shaman, and were tankier actually. This fire plume is close and is earth magic. Do you have the earth magic experience required? Eldclot, you put your fist into the ground, think about earth channeling, use an earthquake technique, say it. Eldclot, follow through the earth and boom, a deadly fire plume erupts where you aimed. With Toadsburg's strenuous training he learned this, but aiming took a lot of concentration like holding onto a wild leash. It is high damage, high mana, cooldown. We usually engage after one ranged strike. Muscle Balloon, bellow to Thunder Thane, listen closely, I won't repeat myself. For humans it's futile to use chain lightning like I can hear with my fingers and mace. Enchant your battle axe permanently with chain lightning using a topaz or sapphire, use lil mana to chain strike, buy a bigger sapphire so you won't have to refill contemporary. Make your gem burst one time into devastating red-white thunder like Zeus fingers. What are those weapons you have there? Naganatas, he looked like Guan Yu. A curved blade on a spear is excellent. Bigger pointy end, ask the dwarves if you want to buy one. What's that book on the pedestal? It looked innocent. It's an unreading book, read it to lose a skill at random. Takes a long time, really makes you think about not reading it. I'm not tempted, I think. What about that one next to it on the next pedestal? Don't read it, it's the book that instantly kills you in 40 minutes. That's how long it takes to read it. So 40 minutes after I start reading it? No, you can stop at any time. Wait, there's Sulky Thorgard again, depressed, prevent him from reading the instant book. He adores every dame like a poet, I bet they have broken up with him again. To be fascinated by women you need to be a philosopher. These are some glasses also that do not increase your vision, but make you look blurry to everyone else. This is how nerds see, shattered perspective, crystallized. A few days later of hammering, at Arnold's thus. Alright, that's the plate body perfected. He dropped the hammer, that's enough hammering. James, let's go relax contemporary. Are you going to outdrink me? Follow me, let's get a spot in the Grand Arcspire bathhouse and the Dwarven Hydraulic Press. Massage and chiropractor parlor. First James put on his tightest black swimming trunks. Moist salt and sea soap smelting bricks led them to a huge wooden bathhouse pool. It was square-shaped, this one, 2 similar elevations of water. Let's slouch into the salt furnace. Inside was 14 by 20 meters, 3-story wooden box. It's a sauna. It was sleek and browner like mahogany, thin stretches of wood on the floor and pleasant on the wall. Toast your extra brain cells, black giant.
One twat
With swab
bar,
people in
please.
blankets they went to the second floor. I can feel this one. My fat stomach keeps me resilient. In the floor in the middle, 2 stories, with a hole and fiery rocks spawned sauna steam. I'm going to add some steam, said a bald gnome with nose like a bicycle seat. No you don't, short stack. Someone stop him. Okay Albert Engelbrecht Engelbrickson, let's efficiently clear us of bacteria at the top floor. Those are Starsmith steel ingots, it will be 170 Celsius. Tight swimming trunks, I'm not very homosexual, I just love drinking and relaxing after work. He didn't know it but he was pushing limits thus. If you were gay I would have spanked you with a baguette. Never feel safe, he pointed a muscular finger. Do you think Tarzan thought of gorillas as dates as there were no humans? I think he was gay. Upstairs were sweaty tryhard dwarves on their bricks. Concerned, judging quickly, changing looks back straight. Take these elven painkillers, staunchly whiskey mog. Those aren't legal. Alright, I have bourbon through painkillers from mercenaries' quarters, said resourceful dwarf, ESFJ. The lot swallowed like medicine and felt instantly painless, medicated and sweet like bourbon. I like hot showers after too, said Albert, sat down. I don't feel that tall here, more like smart. It's a stereotype that dwarves are Scottish drunks, said a square-nosed dwarf, then 5 of them drank beer glasses in unison. You are the biggest man I have ever seen, said a narrow-faced looking dwarf, bald spot. Too bad you don't have tits, lass, they said. Shut up, I can wear a kilt if I want to. Well, do you get out often? said the man next to him unexpectedly. It's more important to get in here. I bought the year subscription with healthy swimming. Like a Greek bathhouse outside, there was contemporary socializing, beautiful pillars, beautiful women dressed in white robes. They had swimming routes separated magically in the next room. If you touched the teal beam, it would fill you with a desire to drink dwarf beer. Beautiful crystal light blue water, see through everything. In the end, 21 meter to roof was 6 ramps to jump from, 1 meter to 20 meters. The ramps and stairs were breathtaking culture chiseling project from students, 2 meters brown and golden dwarf prince head at the highest ramp. Stories of battle history up the sides. There was grandness and there was loudness, the people speaking like unable to pierce,
Not
stress.
imitating an accent or anything.
Arctic chilling baths next to the sauna were minimalistic. 2 Finnish dwarfs, sad head popping up like tumors, staunchy and stern. Perkele. A pet bear ran away. They gathered height, looking at the tall-to-roof crazy bathhouse, climbing on shaky ladders. Splash the elevated bathhouse hotties with some water. Down they went into a giant sink, or toilet. Speedy they spun almost flat in 10 diameters about 10 times. Getting sucked down a spiral and that went with magnified magical glass, feeling infinite like sliding you could see the entire bathhouse, eventually pooped out at a small claustrophobic instance with green smoothing tropicalness, figs and palms. This is a fun one, hidden slide in the hysteria. You gather speed with your fat like a cannon. You're obviously the biggest absolute unit they have had here. There's a water channel that goes through the entire bathhouse. In almost 15 minutes they went in grand tropical themed leafy streams, starting at the 21 meter roof. You could go onto the roof and sit in more chilling classical waterholes in the roof. More Finnish people were spotted going there and thus. Going through 3 different possible streams, they were about 2 meters deep and wide. They slithered, snuck around other water themes. They came upon a beach oasis in the middle, elevated 10 meters where you could take a break, popular spot. Alforer, you tit. Albert, you're shorter and wider since we last met. Give me that. The short man robbed the short kinsman. Albert took 2 strawberry raspberry mojitos, almost without alcohol, and gave one thus to James. James chugged, eyes going cross-eyed outside. I have grilled Angus steaks. Keeping to your diet, I see. I have vegetables in theory. I ate them. That hamburger is a piece of cholesterol art, 10 burgers, 10 pieces of back dwarf bacon hanging in 2 different directions, fried eggs, jalapenos. If you were any shorter you could do backflips under the bed. Let's go to the main beach, James, he said, naming his superior. A fine craftsman needs better than secret alcoves. They kept on and chose the shortest direction. They were a huge beach next to another Greek-looking, huge house with water streets, and deep indeed. They climbed 1 meter to get to a plateau where they were magically elevator-like hovering in teal magical streams to the top, 50 meters. What do you talk about while magically whirring? New capital technology. There latched outside the bathhouse was a twisting long water slide, wide of 3 meters, covering around to the roof. They were supposed to get points from going faster and hitting people who went before you, a 13-minute game. Albert climbed on dwarves and pulled their shins like ragdolls, though was menacing like Scottish and the realist pessimist. James would return next weekend and enjoy thoroughly on repeat, beaching like an arm-focused whale, drinking every cocktail at a beach bar, but only because he was a gourmand. Albert showed him in corridor of the latest dwarven cutting-edge tech, savvy Sebastian Street. There were brass and golden stands, sausage and dangerous cables, round protective glasses. He showed him thus, a balls, sky-firing rocket. You attach it into your enemy, then they go into the sky. Like a shepherd's noose by God, or upset bodybuilder none. I can teach you to fish like us at the fishing platform, said assertive Albert. It is a fine part of the capital indeed, the money goes in and through here. They rode in a minecart, James not fitting like 2 small beige pants until at a cozy dimly lit docks, categorized dwarves penetrated with magical boat engines. They felt like in a steampunk industrious cosplay. The boat sped on with rented gear. The cave complex was huge and kept getting larger. They saw it like something gray and brown, like a city on the horizon, a huge fishing platform. This is called the mire. There were cozy fishing buildings, like lodge. It was like an Arctic hunting lodge maybe, claustrophobic with practicality, smelly leather and ropes part of the construction. They had whiskey called quintessence and essence of constipation that didn't make you worse at fishing. Try this, son. I feel like a legendary worker. Elven energy drinks. You crap your pants if you're not elvish. I tried, it really works. They had huts with people who lived here like the seer predicting an island would appear. She knew the day would come, yet it was never the day. Here's a bread that looks like fish that's going to attract the squid. They went to plank bridges held together by ropes with hemp huts, like for ropes, the material, which they drank hemp protein shakes and wiggled their toes deep, thus Albert inclined. That's a huge building. It's deeper underneath. They went into a spire down, pressure confined with glass and stairs, magical holes where they could fish. We're so deep this seems like every day for the squid. Dwarf Albert wiggled bread until there were 13 armed squid, red and jet black. He pulled it up through the hole and started wrestling with it, kicking. It looked like it was even again at one point. They were dancing in a circle. The squid was like preparing in a guard stance, but then Albert karate chopped it in the head, and it passed out. A little bit of work, bang, $300 you try. We have the diamond pearl boat, an octopus in a round shell, swimming with jets of water and barely any reaching limbs. They jet away, if you can catch them. Eating the fish raw or part in a mana potion restores mana. You will feel energized like it was healthy omega 3. There was barbarian shark fishing where they wiggled their arm and then punched the shark where it came up. They fought like they had been at a bar. Tiger Woods sharks love arms of barbarians. The suit sharks can be made into a powerful draft that makes the time here go fast and you got sharp senses like a shark, but if you leave you feel strange hungover. There are addicts like to strengthen shark personalities. You also get hungover thus if you drink it too much. We have the World Championships of Drinking every year where the dwarves try to outdrink elves. Look at that poster, you have Bolf Whiskey Stock, a huge dwarf in the top 10, no one ever beats him, he's even 130 centimeters and even more wide. The second best drinker is Brothgarheim Ass Whistle, he can whistle from two directions at the same time, but not different tones. That would be unreasonable, heck I can bet my right butt cheek that's never going to happen. But oh how wrong he was. We have schizophrenic castrated Carson, a heart doctor. Don't let him near the chainsaw. I like to whisper to him when we're on the dwarf cruiser Brynhild getting over there, open the bottom doors, we're all gonna die. Dante Cicero, he's a greasy tale of unknown strength and drinks. He is also unfeeling at the chili eating contest. There is a stew type and not a stew type. He complained there's a wizard pouring lines of goat into his lawn, so I thought it would be funny to put a biblical amount of hamsters through his window. We're going to feed wizards farting wizards draft before the end and put 50 men in a room, last one standing gets $5,000. Amazing what you can put people to. Only the least feeling, daft or even injured will win. Everyone feels something. We have Hawk Tua the ape that gives people kebab, sober or drunk, and Zeus's blue frothy mustache beer. He golfs magical grenades into his neighbor's house across the lake in his ancient mansion. Hawk Tua is named after the god of mischief Floke. He tricked his worshippers into no sex and especially 11 stupid rules, then he confessed he was gay and chased Bacchus, god of fertility, among other things. Bacchus thinks Floke is stupid and not his type. They went thus into grassland enclosure, medieval brown, tents and beer tent for those that wish to drink only Primadonna bottomless brew. Where I come from we celebrate Oktoberfest, the main part is that you have to drink, he told Albert. Makes sense to celebrate something in autumn, it's so dark and cheerful. There's Brothgarheim right now. He was busy being famous, red-faced and already being outpaced by his surroundings, peers. He was a red-haired unit like a test for any fashion, red like a fox using a double shine and screaming. He was between fat sphere and rectangle, his ass like a cushion, every short breath inch providing assertiveness. His mistakes, he hoped people ignored. The elves have higher tolerance, but the dwarves are better. We're sponsored this year only by Canadian Rusty Autumn EHH series, easy on the palate, easy to drink, a lot of delicious gourmand stuff. We haven't ignored our competition, said a bronze dwarf announcer. He was shining red bronze, hairy without the quadruple knotted 1-meter beard. James saw some chili being prepared and a 1-meter wheel of cheese they were going to catch rolling downhill, only the smartest humor. Better Bitter Butter Deodorant is the fifth dwarf. He is one that got fatter through dwarven shortbread frenzy. Can you see the difference? There's the last dwarf to the left. The last true idiot, the nameless. The elf you're going to have to watch out for is Philip Airfryer. You'd think everyone is limited by their foul mouth and arrogance, intolerance from being an elf, but this guy is something else. I can beat him by just being myself, relaxing, he's going to lose his mind. Alright men, we also have James representing humans. This is dwarves versus elves. He can't win any money, but we'll see how far he will get. Jim humans, without fat percentages.
No, that's good
First
enough.
Innkeeper's Autumn. James started gulping down like a giant. If alcohol was something to consider, it eluded him. This Innkeeper's Autumn has been spiked with 2000% Tony's tasteless takamaka. We don't want to be sitting all day. Starting out tough. The crowd has regular innkeepers in the middle. James started making cuckoo noises and fell off the chair. The elves started farting, which was surprising, and then fighting. It's just a brawl, folks. Let's see who wins. The 5 elves sat down afterwards, but one of them fell down. Think about King Galathir. I will honor him as a soldier. He hi. All hail. James was thinking about giving up like a steel punch in the stomach, doubting but then toughened up, finding his body resisting stride. Here's a proper English pint of backseat soccer. It wasn't that bad for anyone, the contest was spicing on. They eyed each other like beasts. They were convincing plans and planning their tolerance. James could feel a tension he knew others weren't intelligent in. Everyone is jealous over the stronger and smarter. Here's a grog to make everything complicated, cement cauldron concoction. Wolf was drinking strong, he locked eyes and only missed his mouth so much.
My You Laugh You Lose playlist
now for coffee
here.
in between grogs. Next, wobbly legs goblin piss. This grog will make you question more things than why you drank it.
Cowell, right.
2 dwarves and elves gave up, they staggered and fell, upset and would not be allowed help. They are out, filled to the brim. Now is the time for you drink whatever you want, if you think it would help. Dante Cicero helped himself with horseradish nay whiskey. He thought it would help but he fell off, and they would not get him up again, lost like a philosopher.
Yo,
James
look at
thought,
that
doesn't
drop,
matter if I increase
man.
my metabolism with the ember smoldering fire magic, tucking the excess away.
Dripping,
Now it's time for a Centino
drip.
vinegar wine. It's half red wine vinegar, don't worry. Italians love not using butter, I've heard. It's calorie dense, better put olive oil instead with 3 times as many calories per dinner spoon. Go home, drink olive oil and snort pesto. The bread tastes more if you're supposed to have olive oil with it through. Drink Autumn Lethargy II, laziness in a can, like anchored ass. James' head exploded, fire, after he drank. James is out, they say his giant body can drink like an elephant, considerable being bottomless. Brains like a philosopher ever chiseling. Both you have an ass like a steel beam. I sit cozy enjoying for every fan, he said. I'll drink this for you. Every champion has made it so far, unrelenting, so we will speed things up. A bit of Tony's tasteless takamaka, no regurgitating or you're out. That's it, I'm out, said an elf. No one said anything about this. He was distanced by a dwarf beauty walking thus and fell into a doorframe, pausing time apart. He was really the grandest and prettiest, thought himself. He just needed to prove it with another person. He expected everything to go as planned, like desperate, it had to thus. Ape's brain and gizzard's ale mixed with ostrich hot sauce. We're going to get a casualty on this one thus. One elf choked and spilled like he was being inconsiderable. One dwarf regurgitated, they were out. Damn it. One Bolf, two elves now, show them why and tell them a tale. Bolf activated a legendary stride, he consumed anything in front of him like it was water, golden seamlessness. The elves were choking on their privilege and intolerance, in a liberal yet audacious way. I'm killing it, I have drunk enough to beat anyone, said Philip. This would have been enough to beat someone else's. Elf. I give up. We give up. It was painful for Bolf to exit his stride and focus, maybe he's getting burned out. He celebrated by drinking a shot of whiskey. His brain said, what are you doing? Stop eating pizza. The chili contest was insanity of man, they got so hot, the toughest elves still put themselves through contemporary hell, some of the foodstuffs grew there too. The contestants were resurrected or different and sad, being served delicious hot stews. Write new interesting names and characters. Dante breathed fire and Bolf farted a fire jet. The elves forcefully already churned, eyes watering. Why is it so hot? This is painful more than hot, like a hot rod, in our throats. Habanero hurts, it's not a nice flavor. Super spicy jalapeno in the next chili. They are giant and look like peppers. The flavor hurts, I would have been better if it were just hot. Piri piri sausage links with the chili. Yeep, it's like getting stabbed in the mouth. Hawk Tua had jets of blue fire out of his nose and ears, he started looking sick. I just needed to get it out. Buldak spicy cheese noodles. Jesus Christ, that's a new item. You're going too far. They ate the inconspicuous ramen and there was a silence and productivity like they could handle it. This is too much. I'm drinking my one beer of safety. My mouth refires every time I breathe. Drinks, I can't do this, man. I can eat 1000 Scoville hot sauce, but not this. The Buldak ramen claimed 4 dwarves and 4 elves out of the 16 contestants. Hell's third floor habanero chips. They are spicy but tasty. So you say. It's like eating spicy saucy glass, my lips are bloody. I can't speak, it's too hot. Carolina Reaper cheese flips, the heat comes on after 10 seconds to consider your fate. Weak and inexperienced minds gave up like cowardice. 1 dwarf and 2 elves threw in the towel and seemed focused on the now like elevated. This tastes and feels like food poison. Now it's time to just eat a bowl of chilies. They laid like Satan, gleaming red and laughter of promise. Delicious, said Bolf dwarf, shoveling it in like used to flame. He passed out, his body being surprisingly vulnerable, like a bad thought into destructiveness. The greater feelings you have, especially like fear and worry, the more easily are you to knock yourself out. Everyone was quiet and worried. Soon they realized it was time for the farting contest. James thought, why don't they pick Wizard Yensid? His instincts were flaring, but you know they don't know him, imagination and reality clashing. The wizard looked focused and in touch with reality, like he was not going to fart petrifying fumus. Are you ready? I'm ready. Who knew what went through the 50 contestants' heads as they waited, in moments defining their lives, or at least Saturday. They were facing each other in common group animal suffering, ready to shoulder their part in the contest of Spartans. The wizard, looking like a unicorn rider in blue, teal robe edges, hat, boots, drank the farting wizard's draft. It looks like it went down like water. Wow, that tastes addicting, I drink this more often. Burp. The wizard said before farting. You are not prepared. Fart reverb deep, explosive. The wizard made ass-shredding flatulence that made the gods aware of their shortcomings. Instantly 4 wizards fell like domino bricks, lifeless and gray. Like a poor helpless small animal they were, expert at the world of their size. The crowd whirled in poisoned senses, punishing dark world. Earth cough cough, a stout tough oak, coughed like he was dying, then fell on knees, then face down. I'm going to drink to clear my head, distract me from reality. With enough distraction, you feel nothing.
Already
wow, you are going to win.
ideas.
Arg, this tastes like farting by my sister. The fart is at the surface, keep drinking. You are equal in this strategy. Gulp. We will make it through with strategy. The contestants were getting distracted by their stupid minds and foggy air and tell. Wow, this is getting worse. They were starting to get really foggy judgment, delirious thoughts and qualms. Yeah, it's going to get worse beyond normal imagination. There shall be only one champion. Am I going to die?
Someone is...
If you stress too much, don't think about it, pushing it away when it is vaguely there every 10 seconds. Wizard Alpha Stanley started farting again. I am going to cry. AWWH Jesus Christ. That is too much.
Let's go and
This
see
is
if I
too much
lost
to
some
watch,
weight.
said James to Starsmith. I'm watching them tear like beasts. I'm losing my religion. Contestant. This is
Went to
politics.
the bathroom.
There were only 30 contestants left now, some sitting down or squatting had passed out, they sat like dead statuettes, like a great inhuman plague, alive in a morgue light green and gray. Summer winds of the great serpent. Everyone's beard and mustache started flying, the smell was shared like shocking account and accuracy. We're going to make it, let's team up in kindness and fair fate. Together we have no fear. Hawk Tua agreed, but as he looked back at the hand on his shoulder, with the person had fallen, in the deadly ever-thickening fog. The woman laid beautifully on the ground, choosing her last conscious wish, crying. Gather in the middle, the fog will reduce your area left. Watch this. Bolf was squatted over, he would lit his fart on fire with a dwarven kind of lighter. This is nothing, I am a real man. There was an explosion making you kind of conscious of mistakes, like a chemist. First you couldn't see the result. When the smoke and hazelnut smell passed there were 9 people on the ground, ravaged. 4 people left, said the announcer gravely, he was sympathetic as a spectator can, surprising himself and sharing compassion. We can get through this, said Cuscodal Croissant. Because I believe we can, this is a test of our times. Every test defines a generation. Or at least until next year, Whoops better not mention it. As he said this, 2 gave up. 1 even said it. How dare you? What did I do? I give up, and spun weak on his knees, passed out. I'm not going to give up, said polearm aficionado Hemmel. We'll see, he said like an ESFJ, being ready to prove grit. They started getting lightheaded and shivering, Hemmel had a seizure. All I wanted was to buy a houseboat for my family, a proper large place where we could exist far away and free, said Hemmel, anywhere we could sail the seas seeing the world map as a fish, or penguin, then he passed out. There is one to best them all. You have no smell, fishmonger Boer. Boer won, everyone cheered heartily through the spectating glass. It was heard like touching opinions. I feel like I have a glowing mustache in my nostrils, I dissolved through the reality. He was very weak, cheering and copying emotions but barely feeling anything. It had triggered his bad mental health, the $5,000 felt like 10 cent, or cold and dangerous. What is a resource versus a moral? Next was the legendary schnitzel eating content, this had no point, just like a schnitzel is round. For the schnitzel veterans, red-faced and out of place, they're 5 schnitzels large as a pancake. I would try this if it were vegan, said James. James imagined eating many healthy schnitzels like oatmeal. We have pancakes, said the cook like a scientist. James and Albert absorbed the professional eater's endless ambition yet slightly larger than their stomach. If I tried this, it would not be the same. They have stomachs that can enlarge like someone pregnant, stretching every time you eat, as long as you can keep it up. I prefer eating something delicious. Pasta, ravioli I can eat infinitely. Bodybuilders eat so much they would turn fat if they didn't work out twice per day. Everyone's upset you need to force feed yourself. Jay Cutler says he's done eating for life, burned out at chewing. What is your ideal cheat meal? I don't believe in that chicken, rice and broccoli gives you more muscle than pizza, hamburgers, rollades. Now that I eat that, I must eat healthy.
Yes.
Steak
I've
does not
lost
give you more
6
muscle than protein
kilos.
powder. I
Sorry,
barely can
I've
put
lost
enough
2
effort to
kilos
say
in
an
6
amino
days.
acid is an amino acid. In the future bodybuilders will not eat meat for protein, just like it's normal now. There is thinking and wanting to have efficient muscle gain and diet. Bodybuilding takes time, you forget your dream in the daily work, you must love the progress, the day, not the end. Pretty much anyone can be an unsatiated eater like no manners. We all have sides of beast, watch out ramen. There are always the best at least, the top echelon, it's the skinny ones you must watch out for, said Albert. You have to finish the dessert as well, cake with a tiny mint cookie. Would you lose against a wrestler or a fat powerlifter? Maybe, it's fine, I'm fine with losing. They are strong for 1 to 2 repetitions, short durations. I think there is a medium, stronger strength in going for 12 repetitions. There are the lightweight games and the strongman games, the lightweight games are heavier. Everyone can test how far they can go in the free-for-all normal Joe competition. They had races suspended in the air, hanging in 2 rings or upside down. Squatting in hands on knees in 4 rings, seeing how long they could keep the position. Are there normal Olympic games? There are normal games, but they are exercised by overweight, unfit people who never work out. There were 9 contestants, they squatted like making a point, the buttocks were all different, looking like a display or tolerant variety. Dragon Rider Maple has a steel position, like his limbs turned to steel beams, he was focused like showing off.
Wait, let me just write this.
Dragon Rider Maple has a steel position, like his limbs turned to steel beams, he was focused like showing off. Many were doing stupid faces, front teeth showing. Excelsior, puffy pon-pons. I can do this all day, Maple said to his rival Henry the Vacuum. I was born ass first. He really was. You will never beat my ass relaxing technique, I am never fully flexed. They hanged in the air over an hour, asses squatted like superior athleticism. They were stout, shaking, static exercising like a steel beam in your ass. The first lightweight game was to get a 200-kilo dumbbell off the floor, one hand. It was shaped with a handle you could not get your whole hand around, conspicuous and was the problem.
Oh, I see them all
Burly men
looking
fought
at
with
me.
few words, grunts like a ginger, and they all lost the grip of the dumbbell halfway. It's grip strength, isn't it? Wait, I know this. They know they're all strong, this is for the real gym rats, a real dumbbell. As I saw the wide grip, my brain was halfway saying it's about grip strength. I love having expensive gym equipment at home, it is peace for my brain and my portable self-esteem. They say money doesn't make you happy, but for someone with bad mental health history, surrounding yourself with luxury things, like big screens, makes me feel almost normal. Now it's about lifting Zeus balls, 2 impossibly heavy balls you must, and balancing them on your back, shoulder. Meaty big guys are helped with their fat and large shoulders, you can balance them up to a podium there, then put the first on your back. The second ball is lighter. For every weight they get up, they increase the time they need to balance with 15 seconds, then increase the weight. There was no good way to grip the bigger balls, and no good place to balance them. It seems a strongman won, sweating profusely, being stable in his mind. Through it was hard to tell, everyone just stopped randomly, the stories of how much they could handle wasn't in their face. Next is a backwards run 5 kilometers, in memory of Birdman who flew the wrong direction 5 kilometers, he was a superhero with terrible sense of direction. Ready, set, go. The judge shot himself in the foot with dwarven short barrel tech. Ow. You also have to walk backwards properly, seriously, or you will get disqualified. Stern wheel, jogging arms. These people had some speed backwards, he was sure he couldn't run faster forwards. Next in the lightweight games is a classic get it of the floor marvel. They must flip this 60 kilograms 2 meters tire through an obstacle course, through water, sand, mud with huge waist-sized grass the tire gets stuck on and plants. It looked tiring, but they were quite strong, like ready to shoulder impossible endurance. Up they went through narrow elevation, a game made by industrious people, treating them not unlike hamsters. Further reaching than video games, sometimes inferior. So many things can be made interesting if you make people compete for money. For measuring arm strength, we have a game where the contestants are relative to their body size. A rope climbing game, 1 up 50 meters as fast as possible, only arms. There's plenty of games, neither is ready to lose. Arm strength games. Lightweight strength and get it off the floor games. Make your own world's strongest man. How do we test different strengths? He did ask Albert to make a naginata, but he told him there are competitions to make the best July Star Diamond speckled double platina weapons, untradeable theoretical weapons of unlimited power. James would delve into uncountable deep, in the wilderness mine too far and too deep, beyond the infestation of headbutt hunks, claiming the molten star steel. Mining
The
stars,
dragons might
combining, smelting.
bump with their heads as well.
Of course the finer hammering would be dealt by Albert, winner-headed, going to win the ceremonial competition. He mined a hole into a corridor, it smelled of dark holes and suction. He felt it was a mistake going in. Quickly there was a fort, a purple crystal, dark steel infestation, he heard mining noises, and his spiritual sense told him of stealth behind. Halt, assassin, he held his hand. Distilled was a pale elf looking sleek and stretched in her face, black war face paint, white thick long hair back into her waist. It was so wide, thick and gorgeous it couldn't be real. Heavy armor assassin, heavy glaive and 6 jagged long dagger outstretched. The dwarves have delved too deep. Don't fight me, I'm an explorer, rich and generous. I don't know what will befall slayers who see through stealth. Drop the pickaxe. Maybe this is a time of diplomacy. Fine, I don't expect you to shut your mouth. Follow me. There was an entrance through the fort with elemental magic. We are the purple crystal elves, our fortress is a dungeon. There were pale white, gray and purple elves busy mining and excavating. At the entrance next to tower elevation stood a 4-meter gray and black-haired minotaur, like a silverback. 2-handed battle axe eventually flat, like it had been cut off. This is a wee excavation site, the money and ores are good. How deep are we? Good luck getting that out of us. I'm going to be generous with resources and fair, maybe encouraging with report, maybe you want your first impression with the above people to be above reproach? Fine, I'll let you see the right woman, telling you about the faction. I make amazing noodles, perfected over years. Real noodles should make you feel light and wanting to eat infinite. They had caves and caves with defense structures, hiding creatures and population. In a huge cave seemed to be the main city, 5 40-meter statues had been made from the roof when it was new, inside were population and guild. It could not access from the bottom, the city clashed from buildings stacked in the middle and from the roof sunk. The 5 statues were excavated in a circle. Beneath was a purple-gray castle, sleek and narrow. Unbelievable size and swarm of buildings in this construction. Physics-defying pits where the darkness elemental comes from, shards and fireballs circulating over a plaza. There were many tall buildings for minotaurs, statues of their species, smaller castles for seemingly rivalry. 3 witches will tell your behest. He met 3 witches with similar incredible long hair and many straws. 1 had black opal eyes and hair, looked like a teacher's. 1 white hair and irises, carried a molten, glowing segmented whip, seemed distorted. 1 dressed in red tight leather and fishnets, golden eyes shining like the sun. There is black dragons, the most powerful, immune to lesser magic. Black dragon breath is different from other dragon breath or fire, it is like a different chemical mineral, reacting with seemingly normal material. We push them dimensionally through the smaller caves and through crevices to the surface. They just have to fight with their breath, they rely on it and use it frequently, hitting double targets, raining fire from the sky. They have a 18-spiked head like a beard and moderately dangerous spiked tail, beautiful cudgeling symphony, like percussion. They are the historic bane of the purple crystal elves. Us using it, I mean. We don't fake any strength. Our charging black and purple crystal lizard uses the crystal to reduce your defense resistance down to unbelievable dispel. Don't forget the Naginata rider on it abusing no defense with 100% defense. Crystal black golem fights with magic and looks like a sumo wrestler with the hands. You will see it's superior to golems. If you ingest the purple crystal you see cosmic truth and horror for those with 2000 IQ, but it is not what you want to see. The truth of the universe is insane only for a god to see. We purple crystal elves are superior to elves, don't let them fool you. They are caring of rabbits and moss, weak in conviction. The witch was ready to spit spite thus like acid. Are all purple elves from here related? No, there are many colors to thus, she said, matching his intelligence with cunning. We have to unite the clans, or we can't beat the demons infesting every crevice, coming unreachable from the wilderness mine. We need a uniting enemy or probable cause. You need the Black Hand Towers, chiseling? We have a magic guild, specializing in fire, destruction and spells our creatures are immune against. No, there will be no threat unless you unite the clans. There are many axes or staves that need to be buried, I cannot predict the tolerance. He went to the above people, at least he could see the sky as he went, with inquiries to kings, black and golden he was brown leather between armor. I know of the existence of the purple crystal elves, said King Dwarf, they have been sneaking about for years with their black spells, invisibility, meticulous assassins. They need to be stepped on, we need their ores and mines, magical conduits they make out of the purple crystal. James was appalled, he couldn't believe what black racist tongue was coming out, neither to step in this world. You're going too hot, sire. Soon the world will be covered in regret and whipped cream.
That tastes good.
I don't understand
That's
the connection
pretty good.
again, sire. There is no light, there is no darkness, there is only whipped cream. His councilman, the golden cyborg renaissance dwarf, pulled him back after exiting.
Attack boost.
The purple elves cannot attack,
Oh,
King
strong
Narspeed
beer.
Grim will take everything unless the elves win. He looked like he almost thought through another strategy. They don't seem very evil.
-2, -1.
Small people never thought of racism from logic, we have to play a lower game. Will you
Oh,
play a
it's a
two-faced
+2
game with the purple
strength.
clans? I will help you with logic like an inventor. I know how racist people think, they are predictable like a feeler with heart on his sleeve. With his honest plot, James went to the golden eyes shining witch. We need to offer King Narsweel enough resources, maybe with a threat to make him not attack, maybe pretend to have an army 50% greater, say you are united maybe even when considering. The fate lies in a risky cast, we must find the red dragon glass, both to pay him off and unite the wildblood. Princess Barometer. Wilderness adventure. Paranoia and insanity runs in his family, already he is insane, in stupidity. I won't have them equal, there is only my will. Narsweel chased after the clan leader, jumping on them with his hammer high. The long rival looked distraught and stabbed him in the side with a molten spear, clan sigil being seen hanging at the tip start, then through the neck. Gleg, the tongue pointed out, then the spear was pulled two-handed back through, leaving a dwarf falling on the floor forwards. But he was more concerned getting access to the bottom capital lodestone. There turned out to be 3 things he could do: prove loyal with enough time, pay enough, 1,000 new dwarven coins, or win a 1v1 versus an Arkspire military dwarf.
Oh, sorry, Phantom.
This afternoon he could,
Seems like
an
your message
entertaining
is
ring
similar
match
to
versus a
another
blackguard
person's.
dwarf. It was a smaller arena with open corridors and fine architecture like spires and Japanese-looking wood. It was dank, maybe hard to breathe, claustrophobic. There was perfect categorization, identical arenas with mine for population.
Collaborating.
It was a standard match. The dwarf threw axes, James clad himself
Get
absolutely.
one
He was ferocious with
request
battle
every day.
axes, James honored the 1v1 with an axe and warhammer. They swung, sidestepped and parried, danced defensively and struck patiently. James threw an axe that the dwarf headbutted, his warhammer he charged fire and impact magic into, gleaming, glorious, glowing molten. The dwarf went ferocious to end the game, but as James' muscles grew ever larger and the arena was set on fire with the immolation aura, the dwarf started to run for it. He's an expert, this isn't standard to expectation.
I don't mind doing
ACCH.
this.
James shot his warhammer like a railgun and it easily
It's
knocked the
fun to
dwarf
make a
around and
profit,
gobsmacked
though.
him unconscious after doing some laps like a ballerina. They gave him a port key that was like a keychain that distorted time and space.
don't
It
have
bent into
anything
nothingness
else.
at the right angle and fit
But I
100
would.
keys being pulled and rung right. If opened inwards it would double in size, revealing more and then more. Heavy were the chains as a silent, proud dwarf lady fit the opal key into the right place. The opal black Arkspire stone is a double port key. The other side, when you twist 2 turns and push in, leads to the barbarian cosmopolitan city, infinite spiritual reincarnation. Teleport thus. Our muscly man entered a wooden village from a stone portal looking like a mirror. It was sleek and fashionable, like brass. There were sword shops, battle-axe shops with fitting signs and throwing weapons. With many elevations and a market with tiny river canals flowing through, small enough not to wet your feet longer if you walked. Stalls of gems, silver, fur and cheese. After the market you could climb higher and higher up, stairs that made you fatigue wonder. The houses still popped up inconspicuous of climbing or location difficulty. They had halls of ballads, mellow
Holy
string
shit, I've
music
had
that
this
told you
beer
of
for
love,
2.5
distance,
years
fate and
now.
doom metal. The barbarians were wide, the
Imagine
women
it's
looked like
like
men and the men too.
two at least.
Ponytails, pigtails, Chad beard,
Imagine
Viking
when
helms,
it's
brown
5 years,
shields,
he has to
brown,
shave
black,
that thing
white
off.
leather and fur.
It's all gone,
Blonde,
you know?
black and
It's
ginger
gonna
but not
make me
feminine and round, maybe
shiver.
like where he came from. He popped into a longhouse with antlers of every kind. Long strange canine skulls, giants and monsters. There were tables for beer, local wolf steak and barrels that were for show if they weren't drunk. They looked like they told a story. You look like one of us, where do you hail? Said a ginger barbarian with cloven beard accented Irish. No, I just like lifting heavy weight, London mercenary and adventurer. Tell me about barbarians, I'm also a historian. It's a stereotype that we're stupid, said a blonde axe guard. Not every barbarian
Let's
drinks,
look at
he
the
can
Jay
drink.
Florent YouTube poop again.
Hey bitch, it's me, Schlark. Hey bitch, it's me, Schlark. Hey bitch, it's me, Schlark.
Why would this ever lag?
Here to give you the recipe from Frank's famous breast. Basically what you need is pull apart my cheese. Get the chicken, put some mozzarella cheese on hard breast. I'm fucking the chicken, put it in a bowl, shred with some forks, put Frank's red hot into the box, mix it up all good. Pull apart my cheese. Then you got yourself some buff sticks. Then get some mozzarella cheese and put it on top of some mozzarella cheese, and then put some mozzarella cheese on top of that mozzarella cheese, and then top it off.
Hey guys, me, Jay Florent.
And then put it in a little tortilla, little tortilla.
You know, on stream and off stream, I write like several pages every day. Scotch. They protect the quality so nobody sells shit cheaply. I like that. Babylon is Mesopotamia in the Mesopotamia. Perfumes, aromatics, Venus, Cerecity, and certainly spirit of precious elements. Ah, here we go. Distillation when it comes to Ireland and Scotland. It's always a chieftain died in 1940. 5, 14.5 by 14.05 by drink too much whiskey. James for Scotland. Great like Scotch whiskey. Whiskey was not aged in barrels. Sharp, unrefined flavor. So it's pretty interesting. Whiskey didn't used to be smooth. Wasn't aged. Malt tags. Hidden underground. At one point, half as Skånes whiskey output was illegal. You wanna know a Swedish moonshine we drink? Aquavit, aqua white. It tastes like ass. Three-day soaking. Wish I read a little bit about this. Oh, during the mashing, the starches turn to sugar. after a decade or two, the Asian pero not necessarily pro whiskey might affect negatively. I want to buy some Jack Daniels. Gotta try it out. Might not be that good, but I just want to try it out. Enthusiasts prefer cask strength whiskey, which is between 40 to 80%. Well, very well. It doesn't really matter if it's 40 to 50%, right? I'm drunk. The UK exports more whiskey. Making up a quarter of UK food and drink export revenues. The US was the largest market. It was interesting.
Not every barbarian drink, but we can drink.
Yeah, learning something
It's a
new.
stereotype I can't get Lorena to bed, said Jonathan. Jonathan is fucking stupid, said a slayer in black monster hunting clothes. The wheel is turning but the hamster is dead, said his slayer brother. They had large potato noses and black mullets over rough faces. They look professional though. We reign over the eternal golem in the seven planes, said a brutal brown-haired face with silver magical tiara, royal and elevated on a throne with animal skulls. Take a look with the hawk's eyes. Oscar the village combat huskarl tapped twice with his magical axe, and James had the eyes of a hawk and saw golem overhead. They had villages and forests in the back of a walking kilometers-high golem. Its arms and legs had kilometers of hollow between some places but seemed connected invisibly, magical or ancient. The land on its 7 shoulders made for 7 plains. Its head had a sea in its skull and waterfalls for eyes. Magical properties differentiated the shoulders and would be dangerous like arcane quantified experimentation. The skull was diamond and platina, but if they chiseled it, it would die, magically held together and on the brave souls of the barbarians, kept together like kindness over inferior animals, but they didn't know that. On his flat highest back neck they laid. We are the eternal barbarians, train with us, buy some combat lessons, blades and scimitars. Eat it cozy, but not too isolated. I love strangers, tell me your stories. Eat the eternal boars, can be slaughtered, thus return tomorrow. Study the poetry, it's brutal and sincere in it. Enjoy the giant golem taxi, fight us in tournaments. I like somebody new to beat while drinking and steak to share. We specialize in throwing axes, throwing spears, knives. Two-handed mauls and hammers are frequent. The hold ancient halls and spiritual places, not only holding the conscious golem. It's pretty peaceful here, honestly. There is beautiful green and closer to the sky and barbarian gods, the ones that are barbarian anyway. I'm mostly interested in our colony for trading in Italian shores. The Arctic colony is shit. Arctic colony? Take a gander in ass-freezing ice hell. It is on the North Pole and connected to another plane. Another plane? Ihenjar, planet subjugation, we have more territories there. You'd be surprised what spots we have here and there. There are barbarian pirates drinking rum and axing jungle. Open your keychain, Onyx Barbarian. He put an ice-colored key except for the middle that was whiter and beautiful. I'm all for the hype, but first I'd learn about barbarian combat. Fight me or you're a double pansy, you have to do it, said Jonathan. He came like annoying privilege, you have to argue with not only logic but exhausting emotion. Maybe you do have to fight, Jonathan, actually. We don't like spilling the beans.
Not interested
Unless
in
baked beans,
buying
burp, said
anything.
Huskarl.
Maybe found
There is
we
no
don't want to do
hospitality unless you are
anything.
one of us. Our famous cold is for strangers with merchandise and qualms.
Let me say it again.
If a merchant sells me discount lies, I bury him with nerds. You only look barbarian. Shut up, Byrne. You said yesterday the most important thing is to look barbarian. Why do you have to interrupt me when I'm being stupid? The most important thing is how you plow someone through a wall, right? When you are bigger arms you can never lose, don't lose to strategizing. The barbarians actually went into a smart conversation about honor. In our culture we honor honor, through death we are reborn in bravery and killing streak. Better dead than running away from battle, there are no shields on our back. What if you are crippled and you have to run away to survive? Stop saying exceptions, life in battle is not an exception, don't think in how you can get away from responsibility, a fight and injuries. If you are not a coward, live in honor, die by the chains, they will set you free to your love. We win over those the dishonorable, and are stronger anyways. They weren't kidding. He fights like a cunt but wins, warned one of the brothers Black. After walking in the hostile barbarian mood, they went into an arena of low hollow wood and many had played games in before. James went for a wide robotarm shield on his left and glaive shield on his right. Symmetrical in being shield, offensive like poison ivy. Jonathan came fast and strong, he had strength to set behind his arguments. Oh hoo-ha, so scary, Jonathan said like a blonde cunt, protected. He struck strongly into his right shield with 2 axes, again. Thus, another attack. Ferocious Jonathan looked handsome as he knocked back James a little with each swing, hair waving, an immature being in wisdom, lost when navigating the world like insecure. Jonathan kept hewing axes lodging stuck and had an infinite amount of axes on his body that stuck, some seemed magical replenishing in his hands. James practiced defense, he enjoyed being indomitable behind the shields, he was like a cute turtle, his spirit was protected and the mist was blinding his opponent. He was charging his knee with lightning and impact magic.
Whatever, that's enough of that.
You think you're so
Let's
strong,
just
Jim
listen
Human.
to
You only think so.
Lord of the Rings now. This is another book. It's been
to meet the coming of war and the onset of the shadow. And even as Pippin stood at the great gate of the city and saw the Prince of Dol Amroth ride in with his banners, the King of Rohan came down out of the hills. Day was waning. In the last rays of the sun, the riders cast long pointed shadows that went on before them. Darkness had already crept beneath the murmuring fir woods that clothed the steep mountainsides. The king rode now slowly at the end of the day. Presently, the path turned round a huge bare shoulder of rock and plunged into the gloom of soft sighing trees. Down they went in a long winding file. When at last they came to the bottom of the gorge, they found that evening had fallen in the deep places. The sun was gone. Twilight lay upon the waterfalls. All day far below them, a leaping stream had run down from the high pass behind, cleaving its narrow way between pine-clad walls, and now through a stony gate it flowed out and passed into a wider vale. The riders followed it, and suddenly Harrowdale lay before them, loud with the noise of waters in the evening. There the white snowborn, joined by the lesser stream, went rushing, fuming on the stones, down to Edoras and the green hills and the plains. Away to the right, at the head of the great dale, the mighty Starkhorn loomed up above, its vast buttresses swathed in cloud. But its jagged peak, clothed in everlasting snow, gleamed far above the world, blue shadowed upon the east, red stained by the sunset in the west. Merry looked out in wonder upon this strange country, of which he had heard many tales upon their long road. It was a skyless world, in which his eye, through dim gulfs of shadowy air, saw only ever-mounting slopes, great walls of stone behind great walls, and frowning precipices wreathed with mist. He sat for a moment, half dreaming, listening to the noise of water, the whisper of dark trees, the crack of stone, and the vast waiting silence that brooded behind all sound. He loved mountains, or he had loved the thought of them, marching on the edge of stories brought from far away. But now he was borne down by the insupportable weight of Middle-earth. He longed to shut out the immensity in a quiet room by a fire. He was very tired, for though they had ridden slowly, they had ridden with very little rest. Hour after hour, for nearly 3 weary days, he had jogged up and down over passes and through long dales and across many streams. Sometimes, where the way was broader, he had ridden at the king's side, not noticing that many of the riders smiled to see the two together. The hobbit on his little shaggy grey pony, and the Lord of Rohan on his great white horse. Then he had talked to Theoden, telling him about his home and the doings of the Shire folk, or listening in turn to tales of the Mark and its mighty men of old. But most of the time, especially
Should probably
on
base
this
Black
last
Dragons.
day,
They could get
Merry
double
had ridden by himself,
the loot for
just
that.
behind the king,
And the
Thane
50%
with
weak
them,
as well. They have
and
high
trying
magic
to
defense though.
understand the slow, sonorous speech of Rohan that he heard the men behind him using. It was a language in which there seemed to be many words that he knew, though spoken more richly and strongly than in the Shire. Yet he could not piece the words together. At times, some rider would lift up his clear voice in stirring song, and Merry felt his heart leap, though he did not know what it was about. All the same, he had been lonely, and never more so than now.
Oh, I'm sorry if I ever showed a lot of the book. I wasn't listening, I was just writing. You know, I can do that, right?
At the day's end, he wondered where in all this strange world Pippin had got to, and what would become of Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli. Then suddenly, like a cold touch on his heart, he thought of Frodo and Sam. I am forgetting them, he said to himself reproachfully, and yet they are more important than all the rest of us, and I came to help them, but now they must be hundreds of miles away, if they are still alive. He shivered. Harrowdale at last, said Eomer. Our journey is almost at an end. They halted. The paths out of the narrow gorge fell steeply. Only a glimpse as through a tall window could be seen of the great valley in the gloaming below. A single small light could be seen twinkling by the river.
This journey is over, maybe, said Theoden, but I have far yet to go. 2 nights ago the moon was full, and in the morning I shall ride to Edoras, to the gathering of the Mark.
But if you would take my counsel, said Eomer in a low voice, you would then return hither until the war is over, lost or won. Theoden smiled.
Nay, my son, for so I will call you. Speak not the soft words of worm tongue in my old ears.
He drew himself up and looked back at the long line of his men fading into the dusk behind.
Long years in the space of days, it seems, since I rode west. But never will I lean on a staff again. If the war is lost, what good will be my hiding in the hills? And if it is won, what grief will it be, even if I fall, spending my last strength? But we will leave this now. Tonight, I will lie in the hold of Dunharrow. 1 evening of peace, at least, is left us. Let us ride on.
In the deepening dusk, they came down into the valley. Here, the Snowbourn flowed near to the western walls of the dale, and soon the path led them to a ford where the shallow waters murmured loudly on the stones. The ford was guarded. As the king approached, many men sprang up out of the shadow of the rocks. And when they saw the king, they cried with
Shadow of
glad
the
voices,
propane.
Theoden King! Theoden King! The king of the Mark returns!
Then one blew a long call on a horn. It echoed in the valley, other horns answered it, and lights shone out across the river. And suddenly there rose a great chorus of trumpets from high above, sounding from some hollow place, as it seemed, that gathered their notes into one voice and sent it rolling and beating on the walls of stone. So the king of the Mark came back victorious out of the west to Dunharrow beneath the feet of the White Mountains. There he found the remaining strength of his people.
It'd be fun if you
already
got like
assembled.
half EXP for running a guilty course back, or someone who's got to get metal agility running backwards.
For as soon as his coming was known, captains rode to meet him at the ford, bearing messages from Gandalf. Dunhera, chieftain of the folk of Harrowdale, was at their head.
At dawn 3 days ago, Lord, he said, Shadowfax came like a wind out of the west to Edoras, and Gandalf brought tidings of your victory to gladden our hearts. But he brought also word from you to hasten the gathering of the riders, and then came the winged shadow. The winged shadow, said Theoden. We saw it also, but that was in the dead of night before Gandalf left us. Maybe, Lord, said Dunhera. Yet the same or another like to it. A flying darkness in the shape of a monstrous bird passed over Edoras that morning, and all men were shaken with fear. For it stooped upon Meduseld, and as it came low, almost to the gable, there came a cry that stopped our hearts. Then it was that Gandalf counseled us not to assemble in the fields, but to meet you here in
Gandalf
the valley,
assemble.
under the mountains. And he bade us to kindle no more lights or fires than barest need asked. So it has been done. Gandalf spoke with great authority. We trust that it is as you would wish. Naught has been seen in Harrowdale of these evil things. It is well, said Theoden. I will ride now to the hold, and there, before I go to rest, I will meet the marshals and captains. Let them come to me as soon as may be.
The road now led eastward straight across the valley, which was at that point little more than half a mile in width. Flats and meads of rough grass, grey now in the falling night, lay all about, but in front on the far side of the dale, Merry saw a frowning wall, a last outlier of the great roots of the Starkhorn, cloven by the river in ages past. On all the level spaces, there was great concourse of men. Some thronged to the roadside, hailing the king and the riders from the west with glad cries. But stretching away into the distance, behind, there were ordered rows of tents and booths, and lines of picketed horses, and great store of arms, and piled spears bristling like thickets of new-planted trees. Now, all the great assembly was falling into shadow, and yet, though the night chill blew cold from the heights, no lanterns glowed, no fires were lit. Watchmen, heavily cloaked, paced to and fro. Merry wondered how many riders there were. He could not guess their number in the gathering gloom, but it looked to him like a great army, many thousands strong. While he was peering from side to side, the king's party came up under the looming cliff on the eastern side of the valley. And there, suddenly, the path began to climb, and Merry looked up in amazement. He was on a road, the like of which he had never seen before. A great work of men's hands in years beyond the reach of song. Upwards it wound, coiling like a snake, boring its way across the sheer slope of rock. Steep as a stair, it looped backwards and forwards as it climbed. Up it, horses could walk, and wains could be slowly hauled, but no enemy could come that way, except out of the air, if it was defended from above. At each turn of the road, there were great standing stones that had been carved in the likeness of men, huge and clumsy-limbed, squatting cross-legged with their stumpy arms folded on fat bellies. Some, in the wearing of the years, had lost all features save the dark holes of their eyes that still stared sadly at the passers-by. The riders hardly glanced at them. The Pukul men, they called them, and heeded them little. No power or terror was left in them. But Merry gazed at them with wonder and a feeling almost of pity as they loomed up mournfully in the dusk. After a while he looked back and found that he had already climbed some hundreds of feet above the valley, but still far below he could dimly see a winding line of riders crossing the ford and filing along the road towards the camp prepared for them. Only the king and his guard were going up into the hold. At last the king's company came to a sharp brink, and the climbing road passed into a cutting between walls of rock, and so went up a short slope and out onto a wide upland. The Firienfeld, men called it, a green mountain field of grass and heath high above the deep-delved courses of the Snowbourn, laid upon the lap of the great mountains behind. The Starkhorn southwards, and northwards the saw-toothed mass of Irensaga, between which there faced the riders the grim black wall of the Dwimmerberg, the haunted mountain rising out of steep slopes of somber pines. Dividing the upland into two, there marched a double line of unshaped standing stones that dwindled into the dusk and vanished in the trees. Those who dared to follow that road came soon to the black Dimholt under Dwimmerberg, and the menace of the pillar of stone and the yawning shadow of the forbidden door. Such was the Dark Dunharrow, the work of long-forgotten men. Their name was lost, and no song or legend remembered it. For what purpose they had made this place, as a town or secret temple or a tomb of kings, none in Rohan could say. Here they labored in the dark years, before ever a ship came to the western shores, or Gondor of the Dunedain was built. And now they had vanished, and only the old Pukul men were left, still sitting at the turnings of the road.
So
Mary
good and
stared at the lines
tasty.
of marching stones. They were worn and
I
black.
have to explain
Some were
this every
lean,
time I
some
do
were
it.
fallen, some cracked or
People
broken.
increase
They
absorption
looked
of
like
Kirk
rows
German.
of old and hungry teeth. He wondered what they could be, and he hoped that the king was not going to follow
Yeah,
them
look.
into the darkness beyond.
Makes
Then
sense to
he
do
saw
it.
that there were clusters of tents and booths on either side of the stony way.
Light pepper.
But these were not set near the trees, and seemed rather to huddle away from them towards the brink of the cliff. The greater number were on the
2000%.
right, where the Firienfeld
So
was
many people don't
wider,
believe that when I
and on
say
the
it,
left there
but then
was
I
a
don't have
smaller
a stream
camp,
that I can
in the midst of which
clip out
stood
the
a tall
Google and
pavilion.
show this.
From this
See,
side,
this
a
is
rider now
unreasonable.
came out to meet them, and they turned from the road. As they drew near, Mary saw that the rider was a woman with long braided hair, gleaming in the twilight. Yet she wore a helm and was clad to the waist like a warrior and girded with a sword. "Hail, Lord of the Mark," she cried. "My heart is glad at your returning."
And you, Eowyn, said Theoden, is all well with you?
"All is well," she answered. Yet it seemed to Mary
It's very good.
that her voice belied her, and he would have thought that she had been weeping, if that could be believed of one so stern of face. "All is well. It was a weary road for the people to take, torn suddenly from their homes. There were hard words, for it is long since war has driven us from the green fields. But there have been no evil deeds. All is now ordered, as you see, and your lodging is prepared for you, for I have had full tidings of you and knew the hour of your coming."
So Aragorn has come then?
said Eomer.
Is he still here?
"No, he is gone," said Eowyn, turning away and looking at the mountains dark against the east and south.
Whither did he go?
asked Eomer. "I do not know," she answered. "He came at night and rode away yestermorn ere the sun had climbed over the mountain tops. He is gone."
You are grieved, daughter, said Theoden. What has happened? Tell me, did he
What happened?
speak of that road?
He pointed away along the darkening lines of stones towards the Dwimmerberg.
Of the paths of the dead?
"Yes, Lord," said Eowyn, "and he has passed into the shadow from which none have returned. I could not dissuade him. He is gone."
Then our paths are sundered, said Eomer. He is lost. We must ride without him, and our hope dwindles.
Slowly they passed through the short heath and upland grass, speaking no more, until they came to the king's pavilion. There Mary found that everything was made ready, and that he himself was not forgotten. A little tent had been pitched for him beside the king's lodging, and there he sat alone while men passed to and fro, going into the king and taking counsel with him.
What are they called? Like it's almost ruined the joke that I have to look up what Goya, right? Gautier with dementia. Now you're somebody that I somewhat remember that I used to know.
Night came on, and the
Used to
half-seen heads
know.
of the mountains westward were crowned with stars, but the east was dark and blank. The marching stones faded slowly from sight, but still beyond them, blacker than the gloom, brooded the vast, crouching shadow of the Dwimmerberg. The paths of the dead,
Don't report
he
me
muttered to himself. The paths of the dead, what does
for
all this
churning
mean?
black pepper.
They've all left me now.
Also flavor in that.
They've all gone to some doom. Gandalf and Pippin to war in the east, and Sam and Frodo to Mordor, and Strider and Legolas and Gimli to the paths of the dead. But my turn will come soon enough, I suppose. I wonder what they're all talking about, and what the king means to do. For I must go where he goes now. In the midst of these gloomy thoughts, he suddenly remembered that he was very hungry, and he got up to go and see if anyone else in this strange camp felt the same. But at that very moment, a trumpet sounded, and a man came summoning him, the king's esquire, to wait at the king's board. In the inner part of the pavilion was a small space, curtained off with broidered hangings, and strewn with skins, and there at a small table sat Theoden with Eomer and Eowyn, and Dunhera, Lord of Harrowdale. Merry stood beside the king's stool and waited on him, till presently the old man, coming out of deep thought, turned to him and smiled.
Come, Master Meriadoc, he said. You shall not stand, you shall sit beside me, as long as I remain in my own lands and lighten my heart with tales.
Room was made for the hobbit at the king's left hand, but no one called for any tale. There was indeed little speech, and they ate and drank for the most part in silence, until, at last, plucking up courage, Merry asked the question that was tormenting him. Twice now, Lord, I have heard of the paths of the dead, he said. What are they? And where is Strider, the Lord Aragorn? Where is he gone?
Alright, you two, that's it for the
The king
now I'm gonna listen to
sighed,
music. I can't skip to
but
you
no
anymore.
one answered, until at last Eomer spoke.
We do not know, and our hearts are heavy,
He said.